You're listening to the Death Rattle Crew, a Hearthstone podcast.
DRC, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Death Rattle Crew, a Hearthstone podcast. This is episode 50. 50, the big one. Matt, we've talked about this in the past. You weren't impressed when we hit episode like 40, 45. You said the 50, the 100, the 150. Those are the big numbers.
Those are the big numbers.
Is this the big number?
I think it's a big number that sort of like says that we plotted through it for 50 episodes.
50 years.
50. It's taken us 50 years to get here.
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah. It's taken us like, what, a little over a year?
No, I don't even think that. I don't think it's been a year yet. To be honest.
It'd be close.
We're close. We're close.
We've gone through like a slew of hosts in that time.
Yeah.
It's always been you and I.
A lot of people dead in the ditch.
Yeah.
Some people dead, new faces, yes.
I'm afraid that Mushu and Mike are going to kill me now.
That's right. You never know.
Throw me in the
You
ditch.
never know. I do like that magic
know.
poster in the back, so yeah.
Phew, about another week of living.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do like that rocking chair. So
Yeah. Oh, there we go. It's
2 weeks, man. I'm set forever.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So, for those you who don't know, I'm Mac Tac2 here, joined by Matt Mushu Hill
What up?
and Bradford Lee.
That's me.
So don't forget, you can follow us. We stream live every Wednesday around-ish 7. It was 7:30 tonight.
That's
All I gotta
Eastern
say is-
Standard Time for those.
Yeah, Eastern Standard
for
Time.
those in
Yes,
other
correct.
time zones.
We're still getting on the scheduled train, but 7:30 on Twitch. Search Death Rattle Crew. You can find us on your podcast catcher of choice. Just search Death Rattle Crew. Find us on our website www.deathrattlecrew.com, Twitter Death Rattle Crew, YouTube Death Rattle Crew. We are branded everywhere. You can go to McDonald's and order a number 7. That's a Death Rattle Crew combo. It's got I don't even know.
Some dead things in
Dead
it.
things.
That
Get a
battle.
toy piloted shredder out
Yeah,
of your
there
Happy
you
Meal
go.
thing.
Don't forget, if you follow us on YouTube or Twitter, every month we do a giveaway. Last month it was $20 gift card, and Bonnie Ray, is that her? Yeah, that's her name. She won last month. I finally got the card to her this week. I usually get if we do giveaways that are Hearthstone gift cards, I try to get them on Amazon, and somehow Amazon ran out of digital gift cards.
Hey man, it's
Don't know
like,
how you do that,
like-
but
yeah, it's like Nando's running out of chicken. It just shouldn't happen.
no. So I had to order one from Best Buy and shipped it in. I finally gave it to her today, and she posted a nice on her wall, nice little tidbit. So thank you for that. But you too can win every month. All you got to do is follow. And if you write into us at mail at Death Rattle Crew, which I have not checked today, we could have like 4 million emails in there and not even know it. We will give you 5 entries into the giveaway for that month if we read your email on air. So, with that all said, what is going on this week? And we've got a lot to talk about on the tournament scene with both of you guys, but other than that, what's been going on? Who wants to go first?
I will.
That's what I've been. Go ahead, Brad.
Go
I'll
first.
go.
Regale us with your tales.
Well, this week was great. I did really well in a tournament. I finished 3rd in the Pandaria Cup, securing another BlizzCon, World Championship point, as it's now named. And then I played in 4 total tournaments this week with Hearthstone, finishing 3rd for that one, 9th with the other ones, and then I lost in the round of 32 in the other 2. So I'm doing pretty good in the tournament scene. Not bad considering I've played 10 tournaments now in Hearthstone ever. So I feel confident in my ability to play in the tournament scene now. And the other big news is I finally feel like I've got my collection complete on the North American server. I've been playing free to play. I'm about 9 months in with the game now, and outside of Black Knight, I have what I would consider playable legend in the game. So I'm I'm very close to just being done. And so it was just like a big accomplishment when I finally crafted Malygos about this time last week.
You've been free to play all this time.
It's not entirely true. I got a donation of 3 packs once. So I opened 3 packs for that donation. And
That's fair.
Yeah,
How
so
does
I've
someone
made
donate you
small
3
purchases
packs?
like that. They made a donation on Twitch and then we're like, hey, open packs. And I was like, okay, sure. So they made donation on Twitch through the stream for that, and that's what allowed me to do that. So
Okay, so you're pretty close to free to play.
I'm not free to play because my viewers were like, hey, do this, and it's like, all right.
I think that's close
if you throw
enough.
money at me, of course I'm going to be like, I'm not going to be like, here, take this back, unless I guess I could be, which is fine, but like at the same time, it's like then I have to go through the like giving back money through PayPal, and I don't know. Especially when
you paid all the adventures with gold.
Yes.
Jesus
Crushed
Christ.
it.
Well, you play enough to do it though.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing 5
difficult.
to 6 hours a day, it still is difficult, but it's like, and here's the thing: for the first couple months that I was playing, the amount of arena that I was playing far exceeded the amount of ladder that I was climbing. So I was grinding with that, and so every 3 hours was an extra pack, and potentially if I did well enough, another amount of gold that gives me an extra pack on top of that. So, like I was optimizing my time as much as possible. I would say if you wanted to create a full account, it's going to take you a year on a normal person's like amount of grinding in the game. I, however, was grinding far beyond what the normal would be in order to actually get there. So,
All right, Matt, how about you?
I'd like to plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. No, that's not fun.
You don't even live in America. You don't even have the Fifth Amendment.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Do you have any amendments?
Yeah, the Fifth Amendment in Australia means fuck off, I don't want us to talk. No, it actually means
I wish we had that.
No.
Straight to the point.
There's been a lot of procrastination. I've watched quite a few comedy specials on Netflix. Have you guys seen the Jim Jeffries one where he does his bit about gun control? Okay. You guys probably love it. Anyway, dickhole other than like Hearthstone and other games and shit. So it's been a good week. Been AFKing the real world, pretending I don't need a real job because I have like a part-time job, and that's all I do other than games. It's just
nice.
The dream. It's the dream.
I'm gonna. So at the end there, is that Boba Fett in the background?
Yeah,
Matt.
That's he's lost his little like antenna. I have to go find it. It's under the bed somewhere. I have to go claim it.
I hate it when I lose Boba Fett's antenna under the bed.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
I woke up one night, I just knocked it off, or bumped the table, and it all went south. And I was like, no, all right, shit, all right, great. Yeah, Boba Fett's my secondary alarm, so I have my phone, and then Boba Fett will wake me up on top of it.
Yeah.
Start shooting me laser beams.
Yeah. That's how he gets me up. It's just like, oh, fuck off. Just all right, I'll get up. And I played in a few tournaments. I've not quite as well as Bradley. I was one game away from being as good as Bradley, but not quite.
It's tough for you though, because you got to wake up. What time were you? Yeah, because you've been in a lot of the same tournaments as I have been in, and I would say, I mean, what it was like 4 a.m. for you or something like that at one point.
Well, the one this morning started at like check-in started at 3 a.m. So I was like, I'll wake up at 3:30, 3:45 because all you have to do for the check-in hour is wake up like 5 minutes before it finishes and click check-in.
Yeah.
And then so try and get as late as there. But yeah, no, most of them have been in the AMs. I think because the Australian ones haven't started yet. I don't know if anyone's running them, but nothing's been put on the tournament watch as far as Australian like hosted tournaments. There's a few like Does Play has an Australian like following, so there might be some Australian tournaments at some point, which would be amazing. So I don't have to wake up at fucking at 3 a.m. in the morning. But I'm lucky.
Yeah, like
in
how
that-
are you going to put up good performances when you're either staying up all night or like sleeping for 2 hours? It feels or something, you know.
Well, yeah, you just have to plan around it. I guess like I'm in a unique situation where I do not have a full-time job, so I can probably just go to bed early and then get up early, and yeah,
Still tough.
yeah. I guess it hasn't happened to me yet where I have like gone to bed for like 3 or 4 hours, woken up, and then lost in the first round. I haven't lost in the first round in like the 3 or 4 tournaments I've played. I've gone like 3 or 4 rounds deep, so it's past that point where it's like I can just go back to bed, which would be nice sometimes. Like if I'm gonna lose before the final 4 or before the Hearthstone points, I'd rather just lose in the first round, I think.
Right.
So just go back to bed.
It does suck because today, for instance, I put 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. I put 5 hours into a tournament and then lost. If I would have won that last round and then one or 2 more rounds, then I would have been in the top 4. But like, if I'd lost in the first round, I would have had a bunch of time today to do chores and things that I needed to get done. But no, I spent 5 hours playing Hearthstone to no gain.
Yeah, but I don't think you can't really look at it like that, otherwise it'll kill you.
No, yeah, I mean, like, see, the thing is when you're only making top 4 get BlizzCon points, World Championship points. Again, I keep getting the name wrong. In those circumstances, I think you're more suited grinding as many as possible, because when you're only getting top 4 that are queuing towards that, it's going to be if you're a good player, 1 in 10 of your tournament results are going to put up that kind of numbers. Or that's at least what I would say is my goal. So you got to go through a lot of iterations of tournaments in order to even put yourself in that position.
I feel like you've been forced into segueing into tournaments, Mike.
Sort of. We will get there.
What have you been up to, Mike?
Yeah, no.
Tournaments for you.
No tournaments for me. I just today started getting back into constructed, hitting the ladder. Last month and a half, I just haven't really felt ranked play very much at all. It's either been arena and tavern brawl, but I'm getting the itch again. So I think I just needed a break.
You got a Hearthstone boner again?
I did.
Once you get that Hearthstone boner, whew,
do I need to consult a doctor after a certain amount of time, though?
No, if you get it in the last 2 weeks of the month, you're probably good, because what will happen with the Hearthstone boner is if you get it in the last 2 weeks of the month, it'll usually last until the first 2 weeks of the subsequent month. So you'll have 2 good months of ranked play.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm still safe then. I'm healthy. Arenas. So talking last week how horrible I've been doing and progressively getting better. Like I said, the one where I went 3-3, that one was just bad because of RNG. I will never like BS and say, oh, it's just luck. No, that really was luck. I know when I've been beaten.
That's where they all.
That one Mikey. Was all about luck, me losing. But that is all to say, this past week, the 4th one I did, so I feel like going to be singing. I went 4-3. So at this rate, what I want to know is if you guys want to do a best of 24. Because if I keep adding 1 win to each one, I'm going to have more 12 threes than anything else. 24 arenas. What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah, sure. We'll get back to you up in like July.
Yeah, okay. All right. Done.
You're the guy who doesn't have time to play tournaments.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't have time to play tournaments, but can play a best of 24 arenas.
Best of 24 arenas. There you go. Oh man, so
it is less of a time commitment to do a arena run than it is.
We could do we could do a best of 24 like tavern brawl and see how many you win out of 24.
Right.
I'd get wrecked in that.
Yeah,
I hate tavern brawl. I just can't get into it.
It just depends. Today, obviously, the new one is the.
It's the one where you're like fighting together. I don't even know what it's called.
Return of Mechazod.
Yeah.
That one's back. So if you remember that one, actually, this one's kind of fun. It's just this is what I expected Tavern Brawl to really be. Not co-op, but just something something you can't do normally. You know what I mean? I mean, none of the stuff you can do normally, but I don't know. It's as a game mechanic that you can't do any other way. So I really liked this one, and I know we'll be seeing more of it, but yeah, I mean, that's been it for Hearthstone. I think we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to dig into the tournament and then talk about maybe some things that have been discussed this week, both from devs and some other people in the community. Maybe this is the state of the game and the future state of the game. So we'll be right back with Meta Anatomy.
DRC would like to thank Brainiacs for their support of this podcast. If you have a tech idea for improving your business's workflow, Brainiacs can provide a turnkey solution to specifically fit your needs. You can contact them at www.brainiux.com.
And welcome back. This is Meta Anatomy, your one weekly stop for every single thing meta in Hearthstone. If you've written it down and you're like, this is definitely something related to the meta, we talk about it. Politics, religion, hate crimes, all of those things related to the Hearthstone meta, we talk about it. So
Very much about the Hearthstone meta there.
Yeah, exactly. First thing, like I said in the entry, or the intro rather, not the entry. I didn't check the email recently, and I don't know why I didn't, because we had one, and I believe this gentleman, it was actually in our pit tournament that we did in a long time ago that we've talked about doing again, that we need to do again. It's just been so busy. Sid Harda, Siddharta, Siddharta. I hope I said that right. I feel like he was in a pit. If he's not, I apologize. But here's what he wrote. He says, "Greeting DRC, loving your podcast as always. Thank you. But I really miss Avery. We all miss Avery.
Me too.
Bro's dead in a ditch, but he should be back. I don't know about soon. What do you think? This summer, Matt? He'll be back when school lets out?
Singapore has a pretty fucked up schedule.
Do they?
Well, I suppose it's closer to the US schedule than anything. But he hasn't had exams yet. Like his semester goes across the year.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Like from 2015 to 2016. That seems so like weird to me.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
He said he wanted to come back in at least to guest a couple times. So
he's sort of been playing a little.
Yeah, he has been. Yeah,
I've seen him online a couple times.
Yeah,
but not very much.
No.
Like nothing like he used to play.
No, he'll be back though. So all that to say,
he'll be back.
We'll see him. We'll see him. He said, "I finally got Legend as of the last time I wrote in. I am loving the new meta and League of Explorers expansion. This month I'm trying hard to see if I can get WCS points to enter Last Call. Me and some friends of mine have been organizing monthly firesides for the past year and a half. Next month we should be the first organization sanctioned to give out points here in Italy." And he wrote down HearthstoneArena.it. Hype. This month I got to rank 5 with Secret Pally and Reno Freeze Mage. I hit the usual rank 5 wall. Then I decided to try out some new decks. After net decking and testing for an hour, I decided to stick with Egg Druid, which got me from 5 to 3 in a couple hours. What do you guys think about this deck? Precisely the most popular iteration found on Hearthstone. Are you guys finding more effective ladder slow Reno Monkey decks or hyper aggro Shaman Druid? Keep up the work with your extended podcast. I guess everybody wants the longer 3-hour podcast. He says, Australia? No, it's America. And +5 contest entry points for the win.
No one says America.
So we'll start there. Everybody says America.
Everybody jokingly says America.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
America, guns and shit.
Yeah, exactly. That is precisely the saying. America, guns and shit. There you go.
In answer to his initial question, his second question,
or which one?
The second question about picking between a Reno Monkey and a hyper aggro. Yeah. I like to take the middle ground and play Zoo. Which is not, because it's not hyper aggressive.
I should have put money on that bet. I would have answered that for you.
Yeah, everyone knows I'm a Zoo master, and the game's gone full circle. Zoo's like pretty good again, so that's the road I've been taking, is the middle ground.
Nice.
the aggro control.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm not opposite end, I guess, because you're in the middle. I'm on the controls end of the spectrum. I haven't really had incredible success with aggro right now. So I like going with the control route for most of the points. Now the downside of that though is like if I'm climbing, it's like that wall that he was talking about, that rank 5 wall.
Yeah.
I can take aggro all the way up to rank 5, no problem. Like
Sure.
I'm happy to do that because the games go fast. I can just get myself to rank 5 quickly. But when we talk about win percentage, I'm maybe putting up a little better than 50% win percentage when I'm playing those aggro decks. And then when I'm moving into like playing a control list, I'm bringing in 65, even up to 70% on certain decks.
I was bringing like a 70, like a 65 plus. It was 69.6 win rate yesterday playing Zoo.
It's pretty good.
Like, that's between rank 5 and rank 3.
It's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I'm just an excellent Zoo player. That's all I play. That's all I can
Like,
play.
Ray
Like,
Noodle.
that's
What
like
do you
that-
What do you
that's my
mean
one
Ray
thing.
Noodle? It's Mushu, the Zoo Master.
Oh, dude, it's just from playing like shit tons of game, and like the idea of the deck hasn't changed, so it's just been like
No.
really good. And you come up against a lot of like I guess scrub Zoo players, which is always fun times because you just like the man. How the fuck did I lose? Like, please. Anyway, Egg Druid.
Yeah, Egg Druid. Now,
So the
Yeah.
iteration on Hearthpong is it's quite low curving. It curves off at like a Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah.
So it's like a 4 high or Jeeves. How much is Jeeves? Yeah. 4
Jeeves
is the
is
high.
4.
The list I'm looking at, which was posted by Jackie Chan,
Yes.
First Day Legend, Egg Druid V10.
the actual Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan's
Yeah.
the guy who popularized the deck. He was the one who took it to rank 1 legend, and then proceeded to do it again. He did that last month, and then he proceeded to do it again at the end of the season last month. And I believe he top 100 the Europe server last month because of the deck.
Mm.
So he had a
Looks
lot of
like-
success with it.
It looks like a fantastic deck. Like-
It's very solid.
The yeah, it looks very solid, but it looks like a deck that you win with if you curve out right, and you lose pretty early if you don't.
Yeah, and that is one of the downsides of the deck I've noticed is it's really resilient board position wise. Like it's just like Zoo where you can put a bunch of stuff on the board and it's really hard for your board to get cleared away entirely. It's really resilient in that way. So if you can get that initial tempo and maintain that, you can really steal the games quickly because of Soul of the Forest. I think it's what's called Soul of the Forest. Is that the name of the card? Let
Where
me
they
look.
get the death rattle.
Yeah, all your minions get death
Yeah.
rattle, spit out a 2/2. Yeah. And that just makes it so resilient because you can't board clear. AoE effects just become bad at that point. I mean, not necessarily bad, but they're not as effective, obviously, when you can set up a Soul of the Forest.
Well, that's the idea in the way I play Zoo, is to like try and put yourself in a position where a board clear isn't that good, where
Mhm.
it'll clear like your minions, but you get like, you know, your 1/1 spawn from the Haunted Creeper or your 4/4 spawn from the Ruben Egg to like, I guess, leverage them against board clears. And that's what this deck does really well. It's just leveraging people against board clears.
Yeah.
And against anybody except for Priest, you're probably going to be good anyway. And maybe, obviously, the Murloc Paladin will probably like wreck you pretty hard. But I think this is a brilliant deck going into a lot of matchups. A lot of it'd be interesting to see how it fares against Secret Paladin. I suppose it'd do quite well.
I think it would because its curve is just faster than what Secret Paladin's trying to do.
Yeah, but I can see it having some like difficulty on turn 6, but I assume you just ignore the Mysterious Challenger for the most part, because you're not going to bet like with Zoo, you can just pump something with like Power Overwhelming and just trade up with something. But yeah, there's nothing that really like pumps something in this. So yeah, it's of my belief that you probably just I suppose you have Savage Raw, so that's probably not too bad. Yeah, no, I'll probably probably might give this a crack next month. Wait, it's like still in the middle of January, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
We
you
gotta
got
wait
time.
till-
You got time.
Yeah, it's so strange. We have a bit of time.
I haven't seen this deck yet, so I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But I have not seen this yet.
I've seen this deck list floating around a little bit, and my feelings on it is that it's incredibly resilient for what it is. And that's awesome for it. And it's nice to see the Jeeves finding a place, because it's a really good card, and this is the kind of strategy that wants to be imploring it, where like you just unload your hand by turn 3 and then be like, all right, Jeeves. Really, Jeeves is like a turn 6 play, but you want to Jeeves as quickly as possible is kind of what the deck's trying to do there. Or you have like a Soul of the Forest hand and you're like, okay, now we're just going to make a really resilient board, and then we're going to dig for our Savage Roar. If we find Savage Roar, the game ends. So it's trying to like create huge Savage Roar finishes in the early game, which is incredibly strong. And I've played against it a number of times in Legend last season. I wouldn't say it's a popular deck. I would say that it's probably under the radar still for the most part. And that's one of its major gains, is because it's a hard deck to know how to play against. And unless if they go like, what is the 1/2 for 2 mana that spits out another 1/2? Echoing Ooze?
Yeah, Echoing Ooze,
yep, right?
Yep.
Unless if they go Echoing Ooze early, it's going to be hard to recognize until like turn 3 or 4 that they're on that deck. And sometimes it's like, say for instance, I'm playing Ramp Druid against them. I might not want to innervate something out early that's not great for me, and I might be waiting for like a Dr. Boom or something. But the second that you realize they're on that deck, you need to recognize that you just got to get stuff on the board and try and maintain position against them, because it's really hard to actually deal with everything. I've played against this deck most of the time playing Reno Lock, and in my opinion, it's a little bit unfavorable for the Reno Lock deck, because my game plan as Reno Lock is to board clear you, get some position on the board, and then try and combo you out, or play Lord Jaraxxus and try and take position on the game by attritioning you out and taking him until you run out of resources. And it's really hard to make them run out of resources, even though sometimes I'm 3 or 4 for wanting them with a Demon Wrath, and I can clear the board with a Demon Wrath. But even when I'm doing that, they spit out another wall of 2/2s and just keep applying pressure to me. I think this deck list is really, really strong personally, but I think one of the major reasons we haven't seen it gain a lot of steam, and the reason it's still underneath the radar, is because when it first came out and Jackie Chan was doing really well with it, Tempo Storm put out a meta report and ranked it like tier 4, put it way down at the bottom. And then a week later, Jackie Chan took it to rank 1 legend again. So like it's, and it doesn't play entirely like a lot of the other aggro strategies. It plays, in my opinion, more like Zoo does. It doesn't really always want to be trading towards face. It wants to be trying to set up board position to be able to Savage Roar and hit you for 18 damage in 1 turn. Or it wants to set up a turn where it can Jeeves and get 3 cards and still have you on the back foot, even with just a 1/4 going onto the board. So I really like the deck, and I think it's really well positioned. I've considered playing it. I've actually had a couple people in my stream say, hey, you should play this deck. You should check it out. But I haven't really messed around with it too much, because I've been focusing specifically on decks that I'm going to be taking to tournaments and trying to make sure that I have those decks shored up and understand what I want to do with those specific decks.
That's all I do is play decks I'm going to play in a tournament. Or I don't know, maybe I'm playing them in tournaments because I play them on ladder. I don't know which came first. I'm pretty sure the ladder came first.
Something like that.
Yeah. I think it was the egg, not the chicken.
Oh, I get it.
First.
The egg
Got
druid.
him. Got him.
Yeah, egg druid.
See, Brad didn't even get it. He didn't know what we were doing.
Apparently.
No. Well, Sid, thank you very much for that email.
I think it's definitely a deck you can get to Legend with.
Yeah.
It's very well. I think it's until people know exactly how to play around it or play against it, it'll continue to be being very strong.
Is it me, or just like the noise that Echoing Ooze makes like sound like a violent shit?
It's you, because
it must be you.
Just me?
Yeah, my violent shits don't sound like that.
Oh, Jesus. And with that, let's segue into tournaments.
Oh yeah.
God damn it, Matt. Yes. Yes.
This is my style of humor, just like completely like obscene. Just trying to be as obscene as possible.
Well, we love you for it.
Nothing says Hearthstone tournaments like massive, painful dumps. I don't know.
Poops.
Yeah.
That's how painful it is.
Oh my God. Yeah, just oozes. It's the whole package. So tournaments. Yeah, so both of you guys did quite a few tournaments this week. Who wants to go first?
The champion, the people's champion. Me.
All right, go ahead. The Rock wants to go first.
You can have a smell of what I've been cooking in my tournament decks.
Yes. What have you been?
I've been running Zoo, Combo Druid, and Secret Paladin, and that's been like largely successful in my tournament game. I think it's been better in Conquest than it has been in Last Hero Standing. Because you can always get the only problem with Last Hero Standing, and particularly when it's best of 3 Last Hero Standing, which the Pandaria Cup is for like 5-6 rounds or something.
Yeah, 6 rounds.
And
or 5.
Yeah. You can get cheesed pretty easily. Like it's much harder to cheese someone 3 times in a row with the same deck than it is to cheese them twice. Particularly, like I've cheesed a bunch of people with Zoo 2 games in a row. But I definitely had more fun playing in the Conquest tournaments, always because you're fundamentally playing more games.
Mm-hmm.
But my lineup just exceedingly well in both. I think I got like relatively unlucky when I was close to the top 4. I got like pretty unlucky. I had 1 game I was up 2 games in the Conquest format, and I just had to win with my Druid in the last 3 games in a row. When I played the Druid Mirror, I think I sent you like the picture of
you did send me the picture
of like the reverse fucking dream, like the Druid Nightmare. He turned 1. He went second to the coin, so he turned 1 piloted Shredder and Dionysus Aspirant on turn 1, and I was just like, I have no wrath, no swipe. It's just like, I guess I lose. It's just like,
Didn't he put Shredder out the turn after, or 2 turns after that as well?
Probably something. It was just after that, Brad. I just fainted, and it was all a blur.
The game was over.
There's nothing you can do. Yeah.
I was just like,
that's why I still think Innervate is the best card in the whole game.
I hear you.
So
much tempo.
There's a few interesting situations that arise when sometimes you end up with Wild Growth, Dionysus Aspirant, and Innovate your hand, and you have to get rid of one of them. And I've been leaning on the side of getting rid of Wild Growth. I feel like you have to get rid of one of them. Otherwise, you have too much shit in your hand that's like focused on ramp. And you play your ramp out, and then it's like, fuck me. Now what? Now I have to top deck my lore to recover.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think the opposite. I mean, I actually pitched the Darnassus. Well, obviously, if it's depending on matchups, like if I'm playing against Paladin, I think the Darnassus Aspirant's better because it's really hard for them to clear a Darnassus Aspirant in the early game. But other than that, and maybe some other circumstances, I like the Wild Growth in my hand personally.
Yeah, I suppose if you're playing against like something, if you know it's a Reno lock, I might keep the Wild Growth.
Sure.
So yeah,
because you just want to make sure that you get ahead in that matchup.
Yeah, there's been a couple of Reno lock games when I've been playing Druid as he's just slow as shit, and I just win because like, I get him down to that like sort of, I guess, slightly sub 20 health, so it's not. They don't think it's 100% worth renoing, but then you can just pull out some big dick combo and just wreck them.
That's generally when I'm playing Reno Lock how I lose. It's that exact circumstance.
Yeah, I saw Frodan post that he got to Legend with a OTK warrior deck with revolves around like using charge and Raging Worgen, and that you can just get free wins off Reno Lock because they don't know what you're doing. And then so you just come out of nowhere and just hit him for like 20. It's like, oh, fuck me dead. Literally
got
dead.
The tools in hand, but they can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, as for the rest of the tournament experience, it's been pretty good. I mean, I've been staying up, as we spoke about at the start of the podcast, that I've been staying up. Or no, only the ones that start at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. my time, I'll stay up for. Anything later than that, I'll go to bed first. But I'm in a position where I can do that. So basically, if you're in the Asia Pacific region and you can't do what I'm doing, then you're fucked.
Yeah. Pretty much. It sucks. I'm on the opposite. And I get lucky. I get to wake up at 10 a.m. not even 10 a.m. I wake up at 9, and then the tournament start at 10 or 11 or 12, and I just get to spend my afternoon working on it. I'm lucky in that regard, I suppose.
Yeah.
PST best time zone confirmed.
Yeah, but I suppose it's relative because, like, obviously there are a bunch of people who aren't going to do what I've been doing in my region, so it's probably relative in that, like, if I do get extra points, that'll just be worth like a shit ton because not many people are doing it. And by that function, it's probably also you can also get by if you're just playing ladder. If you can get top 100 finishes, you're probably going to be fine.
Actually, go ahead.
I was going to say we've been lumped in with the Asian Pacific server, or Asian Pacific ranking. So there's like 8,000 people on this ranking list. So I'm like ranked 5,478 after last month because it's like a 3,500 person tie on 1 point. It's probably more than that. It's probably like at least 4,000 people on 1 point, and then like the top 1,000, 1,500 have like 2+ points. It's pretty funny.
Okay, so this is actually one of the questions I want to ask this week. I've been really focusing on trying to figure out my strategy moving forward for World Championship points, and if it's worth still grinding for this season, or like what my strategy is for the next season moving forward, et cetera, et cetera. And as I look at the different servers, right, in my opinion, the Americas server is probably the easiest to be on right now when it comes to ladder climbing, because the number of people that are getting to legend, so the number of potential people like you were talking about is less than any of the other regions. If you go to the Europe one, I don't even know the numbers. Let me look it up real quick. I think it was like 6,000 people made legend last season, which means like even if you made legend, if you're not in the top 100, you're on the same plane as 6,000 other people. And so your odds are just so much less. I'm actually trying to get the page to load, but their website doesn't load for me here. But yeah, so like in my opinion, after looking through it, I would say the North American server is probably the easiest to get there with. Then it's the Asia Pacific, and then the European server. Gosh, I gotta scroll to the bottom of this page now. It's instead incredibly long on the European account or European one. There were, it's long. There were 12,190 people who made legend on the European server last month. Yes.
Wow.
That number is insane. And so like, if you get 1 point from climbing ladder and not making top 100, you're on the same plane. If that's all the points you've got for World Championship points, you're on the same plane as 12,000 other people when it comes to the European server. On the America server, on the North American server, you have to be, let's see, if you got 1 point, you're in the top 4,837. So in the North American server, there were only 4,837 people who made legend last season. So that's literally, it's more than double the amount of people that are grinding the Europe server than compared to the North American server.
But that's incorrect. That's wrong. Like the amount of, that's not the amount of standings isn't the amount of legend players.
Well, it is though, because I guess it could be off by a couple points, but wouldn't it be everybody who has 1 point is basically made legend, right?
Yeah. But what you're saying is the people on the American standing list are the NA legends, and that's not true. Like, because everyone in Australia and anyone from Asia who plays on the North American server has been segregated to the Asia Pacific standings. Like I'm not on the NA. I'm not on the NA standing list. Like I'm on the Asia Pacific one. Like there's no Australian server.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that the 4,837 that I'm seeing are the people that are just residing in North America, yes, but not necessarily they're not necessarily all the people that are grinding on the ladder in the America server.
Yeah. So gotcha. There are 7,933 people on the list for Asia Pacific, but there's probably a huge percentage of that who are from the NA server. Because all the Australian, all the New Zealand, and I'd say a fair whack of the other Asian Pacific players are probably from the NA server. So
that makes sense.
It's not as clear cut, but I don't know if there was. Definitely don't know how many. Did you say that 12,000? Did you say there were 12,000 legends last season for Europe? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
12,000.
12,000. That's what the number is. That's what it shows, at least, you know.
12,000. Yeah, that's a fair whack of people.
A lot of people. And so like that brings me to my next question I want to discuss. What are you guys' thoughts on so I'm trying to grind obviously for World Championship, and I'm going full steam. I left my job, I'm doing it. Like I'm going for it. You know, I'm going to be doing a lot of tournaments, grinding on my Twitch account, you know, just doing it all as much as I can to try and get myself there. I'm putting in the time. But it feels like this to me, but I want to know everyone else's opinion as well. Do you think it's more important to grind ladder or to grind tournaments? Like, is it more important to make top 100 in ladder at the end of the season? Or is it more important to be playing as many tournaments and trying to get your points through tournaments?
Well, it comes down to both in that, like, you should be aiming to hit legend in the smallest time possible and then leave it until the last week. Right. So if you hit legend the first 3 or 4 days, depending on how good you run, like say you hit legend the first week, then the next couple of weeks should probably be spent like solely focusing on tournaments until you come into like the last week, because most of the climbing for top 100 legend is done in the last 4 days. So I think in that regard, the middle of the month is pretty dead because there's so much that can happen in the middle of the month relative to the ladder. Like people are going to flood in with higher elos and you're going to get bumped down anyway. So from my perspective, I don't think I'm good enough to maintain 100, like top 100 spot all month. And the best like way for me would be try and cheese it in the last couple of days a month. But I don't know, you might be better than me. And it might be a better prospect for you to try and just stay in the top 100. I don't know how easy is it for you to stay in the top 100.
I haven't implored the strategy of getting to legend in the first week yet. I haven't had a moment yet where I've been able to say, okay, I've got time this week to just grind out as many games as possible and try and get to legend in week 1. So I haven't tried that particular strategy yet. But I don't really know if that's the strategy I want to be imploring. But I mean, obviously it seems fine because if you have your elo rating really high at the very beginning and you are way ahead of everybody in that regard, then if you can just keep playing people that are already high ranking with you, you'll be able to keep your elo higher. But as you said, yeah, it's those people in the middle of the month that are coming in and they're coming into legend with like 3,000 as their legend rank, and all of a sudden you get queued up against somebody at 3,000 and your rank, you know, maybe 5 on the entire legend ranking, and you lose that game. That's a huge elo loss for you because you know you're ranking so high and you're losing to somebody with a ranking so low. It really pushes you to the mid ground a lot more. So I don't know what the best strategy is in that regard, but I want to quickly talk or mention the how the point system works for the World Championship this year.
Sure.
They mention in ranked play. So so this is what we were just talking about. For reaching legend, you get 1 point. We all know that now. Top 100 to top 51st. So the 51st to 100th gets 5 points. 26th to 50th gets 8 points. 11th to 25th gets 10 points. 2nd to 10th gets 12. And if you get first, you get 15 points. And 15 points is a big number to get. Because when you look at it from the next standpoint is all these cups that we've been playing in, all these small tournaments. Getting first, you get 3 points in those cups. Getting second, you get 2 points. And third and fourth, you only get 1 point. So granted, getting third and fourth is the same as reaching legend for the month. But if you were to reach top 100 in legend, it's like winning at least 1.5 tournaments of those Hearthstone Cups. And those tournaments are already pretty hard to even get yourself to third and fourth because they're generally 512 people. Sometimes they're 256, depending on the size of the tournament they've chosen. But they're single elimination tournaments, and there's 512. So you have to win 10 rounds in order to make first. You have to win 8 rounds to make top 4 and even just get a point. And then you have to win 9 rounds to even potentially get yourself 2 points or 3 points. So it seems really hard, in my opinion, to get points in the tournament series as compared to on ladder. So my question then, and I don't know what you guys think. I've given out some weighted response because I'm giving my opinion at the same time. But what do you guys think? Do you think it comes down to making top 100 in order to in the current system to get to BlizzCon or to get to the World Championships, because it just seems so hard to get there with cups, in my opinion.
100%. Like I think it should mostly be about ladder though.
You think so? Huh.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm on the opposite. I don't think that. I think it should be more about tournaments, because I hate to say the word randomness, but when you get to the top 300 players at the end of the month, their skill level is almost on the same level. Somebody might have beaten the meta, and that's going to be the people in the top 10. Those people beat the meta that month. They figured it out. They built the deck that beats everything, or they got lucky and happened to have, like been playing Secret In and queued up and gotten into the top 10, 15 slots and were able to lock it in because of that. But those other slots, somewhere between, like 15 or 20 down to 100, those fluctuate so drastically between the top 300 players that it's like, it doesn't feel like a skill tester to me at that point. Now, it is a skill tester to get to the top 300, in my opinion, but to reach top 100 it's about those last 4 days that you talked about keeping those top 100 slots, and being able to keep the top 100 slots is really hard without things falling into place in the right circumstances for you. You getting good mulligans, good matchups that you queue into, like there's factors that go into it that are out of your control so much that it seems hard to state, in my opinion, that you're going to have the best players at the tournament.
But that's
the World Championship.
But that's the same, like that sort of argument could be made for any sort of tournament that isn't Swiss as well. I think like it comes down to, you have to have it go on a pretty massive run at any, like in the Pandaria Cup and whatever, to win 10 rounds in a row, single elimination, to get to the point where you win like your 4 BlizzCon points. And I think because of that, it needs to, like, the reward, it's more challenging to win or to make top 10 legend than it is to win one of these cups, I think. And that's why it should be awarded more points.
I think it should be rewarded more points as well, especially since it's on a 1 month cycle. But I think the point numbers might be skewed a little bit in my favor, in a favor that I don't think is necessarily good.
Sure.
I think the multiplier might be too high, in my opinion.
No, I don't. Like, I disagree in that. So once a month, what the first place on the ladder gets 12 points, and that's
15.
once
15.
15.
Yes, 15
Gets 15 points once a month, whereas there are like 600,000 tournaments each month. Well, not 600,000, but there's 10, maybe 20 tournaments, depending on how. Let's see. There's probably like there's like 2 or 3 a week, and I mean,
right now I'm queued into a tournament every single day except for Tuesdays and Fridays right now. So 5 a week right now is what I can register for, and that's even with being on wait list for like Strivewire, which is a whole nother discussion.
Which we'll get into.
It's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that's 20 tournaments a month where you can win maximum 4 BlizzCon points, and I think that so if you won all those tournaments, you would have 80 BlizzCon points?
Yeah, but is it reasonable to assume that you can win that many tournaments? I would say a good player is going to put up a winning performance, a top 4 performance in 1 in 10. Like a top tier player is going to, in 1 in 10 tournaments, put up a winning performance.
Yeah,
and so that's what, like by the end of the month, you're gaining maybe 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, but so in the sense that a tournament is usually a 1, maybe 2 day thing, I think if you stretch that concept across a whole month, I think that's where the gap in terms of where the points is sort of starts to appear, in that you have to, in theory, play well for the entire month, or at least for like 4 days, you have to play really well. And usually these like top 10 legends are playing the entire month, and that's how they get so good at like guessing the meta. Or not guessing the meta, but understanding the meta and trying to counterplay the meta, is they play all month. So it's a month-long commitment to be able to like beat the meta, and thus should be rewarded a higher rate.
I agree with you that it should be rewarded more. I just don't. I feel like the weighting's just too much. I don't know. It's just, I feel like the differentiation between winning one of these cups and getting 3 points versus, making top 100 and getting 5 points for it doesn't seem.
Well,
I don't know. It's just that's my opinion on it, I
and
suppose.
the thing that I feel is crazy is you play like, because it really, ladder is get as close as you can without, don't overdo it, because if you work real hard and you're there 2 weeks into it, you can get bumped out of whatever rank range that you want to place in, top 10, top 50, whatever it might be. You might, if you walk away for long enough, it's possible to lose that, as opposed to I guess tournaments where where you stand in the tournament. You've done it. I don't know. Do you feel like it's just the end of the month that really matters?
No, well, in the sense that I don't know, I haven't ever really been like on the high end of the Legend ladder, so I can't really speak from personal experience. But the way I look at it is that if you're like a top 100 player, then it's probably within your interest to stay in the top 100 as long as you can all month, because that would mean that you have like a more consistent elo over the month. I'm not sure what really happens with the elo over the month, if like more people inflates it, or I don't really understand how it works too much, but there'd be something to look into, and that would affect the outcome of this debate. But I think for you, Bradley, at least, you want to focus on the start. You want to like have a two-tailed approach in that you focus at the start of the month and at the end of the month, and then spend the rest of the time on tournaments, and then use ladder to maybe test shit out and see how your things are going. I think what would really be good is if you get like practice partners. That's really what you want for tournaments.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, there's like limits to what you can practice in a best of 3 last hero standing, but anytime you are able to take conquest, that's where the practice would come through.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that sparring partners or people that you can play with that aren't necessarily on ladder is a really good way to do it. Because if you really want to figure out your strategy that you're trying to employ in a tournament setting, you need to be doing the format that they choose, which is either conquest or last hero standing or conquest with a ban. But I think that's a huge thing. I agree with you. Recognizing who you can play with is huge. Another thing I want to talk about within the tournament thing. I've been doing a lot of tournaments, so I've been thinking a lot about tournaments this week. And moving forward, I want to kind of, like, me personally, I want to focus my thought process towards that a little bit more, because obviously I want to do well in these. So when it comes to, and you mentioned this earlier, Mushu, you were saying that your current strategy is one that you like implementing in Conquest versus Last Hero Standing. And I don't know if maybe the strategy is different between Conquest and Conquest plus a ban, where you pick 4 heroes and there's one that's banned. But is there any specific strategies that come to your mind throughout that process of what decks you're going to pick that make you that move you towards a specific build in Conquest or Conquest plus a ban or in Last Hero Standing?
Well, in Last Hero Standing, like, my deck selection is based on decks that can potential to snowball. Yeah. Like games where you can just shut your opponent out in the first couple of turns. And I think Zoo, Combo Druid, and even Secret Paladin all have the capacity to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's my strategy. And that's also the strategy going into Conquest, is that all 3 of these decks can beat anything based on like there are obviously going to be some unfavorable matchups, but well, not even that. Like, yeah, I think like it's the same sort of approach in that being able to snowball each game in Last Hero Standing and take like a quick 3 wins is the same sort of approach in Conquest, in that I can snowball one game 3 times in a row with different decks, because it's just like sometimes you can just cheese people with these decks, and that's my whole approach, is just cheese the shit out of you.
I kind of agree with you that, especially in Last Hero Standing, I've been focusing on always playing Secret in Last Hero Standing, because it's the kind of deck that, except for if they queue up Freeze Mage or a specific deck, you can just start with it, and winning, especially if it's a best of 3 Last Hero Standing, winning that first game is incredibly powerful, because if you win your first game and then they win the second game, then you're going to the final game, game 3, Well, you had to stick with your exact deck in last hero standing when you went into game 2. Say you won your first game with Secret In, and then they picked a counter deck to Secret In and they beat you, and then you go to game 3. Now you have 2 different decks to choose from, and you can pick the best matchup going into game 3. So you can put yourself in a position where you're like, okay, I have a 70-30 matchup against this deck Freeze Mage that beats my Secret In deck, but I brought this other deck that wrecks Secret In, specifically so that when I meet that circumstance where I'm ahead of game, they have to stick with Secret In, with Freeze Mage, I can now employ a strategy that puts me in a position where I almost am never going to lose.
And that's why they got rid of Last Hero Standing as the main format, is because that's just what it became. It was like that first game was like all importance because you go counter deck, counter deck, counter deck, counter deck.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is fucking fun.
And that's what I've been doing. I mean, I've been playing some of these Battlefy tournaments, our Last Hero Standing, and I've been doing exactly what you're saying. I pick Secret In game 1, and this isn't always true. Like, it depends on their lineup a little bit, but generally I'm like, okay, we'll play Secret In first, and then if I win game 1, which with Secret In, you have a good chance to win game 1s, and then from there I'm just like, okay, these other 2 decks are specifically designed to beat decks. Like I have a deck. I was playing Aggro Druid a lot because it beats Secret In relatively well. Has a very good Secret In matchup in my opinion. And so I've been playing that because it beats Secret In. And then I've been playing a lot of Reno Lock or Mali Lock and more controlling decks so that if their strategy to beat my Secret In deck that I started with was, like a Priest deck or something, I can move into these other decks that can combo out the Priest player and finish them off. And so I've got 1 deck that I'm trying to go with and 2 decks that are strategizing or are specifically to counteract game 3s. They're there for game 3s. So I don't know. That's Last Hero Standing, at least. I really like that the new tournament strategy right now is Conquest plus a ban, or is kind of like the way they're moving, because it changes the way that I've been approaching it. You mentioned, Mushu, that you want these kind of like the best of the decks that can steamroll people. Like Zoo can just get ahead so quickly sometimes, and just the game just ends. And the same can be said with Secret In. Sometimes you just can't beat a Secret In it's firing on all cylinders. You just can't beat it. But when it comes to Conquest plus a ban, it's so drastically different, because decks like Freeze Mage get a lot better, because all of a sudden you can have an opponent who has in one of their 4 things Warrior. And if you're queuing up Freeze Mage as one of your decks, and your Freeze Mage is specifically there to beat, like certain matchups like Secret In, in a Conquest plus a ban format, you can always ban Warrior first. You can be like, all right, ban Warrior because I'm playing Oil Rogue, or I'm playing I'm playing Freeze Mage. And so you bring that deck with the intention of eliminating the matchups that you can't win, which is incredible, because then that deck that, it's a solid deck. Freeze Mage has always been a solid deck, but the problem has been with it just has a matchup that it almost can't win. And if it's Armor Lock .deck, it probably can't beat Armor Lock .deck, and so its way of beating it with the Conquest plus a ban strategy now is just ban it, just get rid of it, and now we can play Secret In, or Freeze Mage. I keep saying Secret In.
But I haven't played any Conquest with a ban yet, because no one wants to. It's I feel like it'd be a hassle to run online.
It seems like it is. Strivewire has it in their programming in their system to have a Conquest plus ban system.
Strivewire.
They're really pretty well put together in that. But Battlefy, which is the other major player in that, hasn't really been doing anything when it comes to that.
Battlefy is my boy. Battlefy is like so much. I think the problem at the moment is Strivewire caps at 256 players, and that's
let's talk about that.
That's so fucking cancerous.
We keep going around that. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you totally.
So Battlefy, for those of you playing at home, it must be like a 7. Like, I don't know if it has a cap. There must be a cap, but basically, Battlefy's player register cap is like 3 or 4 times bigger than Strivewire. So it's very hard to get locked out of a Battlefy tournament. Particularly the ones that there's some that cap at like 512, which is double what the Strivewire tournaments are capping out at 256. And I think capping tournaments is fundamentally bad for, like, obviously there are logistics involved, and tournament organizing and that sort of thing. But I think it's fundamentally bad to cap open tournaments that have implications for Hearthstone World Championships.
I agree. I think that's a bad way to approach it. I understand why they do it. It's like, you know, they don't want to run a tournament that starts at 10 a.m., is not capped, and there's 3,000 people in it, and they're running it till, you know, 10 a.m. the next day. You know, like they don't want that.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think there's never going to be 3,000 people. Like these tournaments might cap out at 1,000 people. Because if you think that there's, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 legends and probably like a quarter of them might play, basically I don't think Strivewire has enough spots open. But my next, I guess, like the next question is, have you ever sat in a Strivewire waiting list?
I haven't, but I want to know what the strategy is for that, because I'm in the point right now where I'm gonna look at my calendar right now. I think there's 4 tournaments, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 different tournaments that I'm currently waitlisted on Strivewire, because since was out of town during the December month, I forgot to sit down in my computer and try and queue into these Strivewire tournaments, so they're all filled at this point. So I don't know how the waitlisting works. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, the other thing is, I guess some of the later stages, like Herminated tournaments, like they're all up on there, but you can't register for all of them. Like I think you can register for like the next 2 or 3, but when you get down to like Herminated, but like the later ones, like 8, 9, 10, I don't think you can register for yet. So it's also would be worth keeping an eye on when they pop up to make sure you can register them. And I guess Tuesday night. When does the Rego open for Tuesday Night Hive? That's the other thing.
I don't know when Reg is open for anything on Strivewire. I can't find that information.
That's the strategy. Well, it's like it won't be publicly posted, more than likely. It's to the point where you probably have to contact the tournament organizer and be like, hey, can you give us a heads up, or like know somebody and be like, hey, when do you guys post when does the opening registration start? That's
frustrating.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Because it's going to fill within an hour, right? It's like buying concert tickets for some famous person. You buy the concert tickets at fair market value, and then after that, like, is that what's going to start happening? People are going to be selling their seats to tournaments. We can talk about that with Mason, but that's a whole different thing.
Segue. No.
Yeah, totally.
But no, but I mean, you do what you do to get ahead, I guess, and that's one thing. Where the places are limited, the spots are always going to go to the people who go the extra mile and be like, "Hey, tournament organizer, when are you posting it?" Sort of thing. Like, it's like you can bitch and moan about it and be like, but at the end of the day, the people who talked to the tournament organizer found out it was being posted like 12 a.m. PST, got in, and you wake up, the next day, be like, "Oh, I can't get in," and that's definitely been me 100 times. But yeah.
Yeah,
I think if you,
I guess I need to be more aggressive with asking people these questions and within the tournament scene, and like that's the only way that you can really do it at this point. You have to aggressively put yourself into it.
Well, it's shit that you have to do it like that, but you have to put yourself out there. Is basically what it comes down to, and that's the strategy you need to employ rather if you want to get it done, Bradley. So you gotta be a big man. Put on your big boy pants and whip it out.
Wait, what?
DRC confirmed that. So DRC confirmed that's how you get into a tournament. Put your big boy pants on and then just whip it out.
I want to quickly talk about the waitlist again. Is there a strategy for the waitlisting on Strivewire? How does it work? Is it just first come, first serve? Whoever was waitlisted first is the first to then go into the tournament? Or is it whoever registered themselves when there's like the 1 hour prior to the tournament register point?
No, so I would say that after the check-in hour, there's like a 10-minute gap between when it starts and when the brackets are posted. And sometimes this doesn't happen if everyone checks in and there's no like available spots. So I think in that 10 minutes between check-in and brackets being posted, there are a certain amount of spots that open up because people who registered didn't check in. So once you are on the waiting list, you have 10 minutes to check in as someone on the wait list and then get a spot in the tournament. That's how I imagine it work. I don't know for 100%, but based on the logistics of what I've seen on Battlefy, that's what I would assume happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a preferential system. I don't know. it feels like it would matter when you clicked join the waiting list, but at the same time, I don't think they have the resources for that to matter. Like, I don't think you can wait on to see if it was preferential based on when you joined the waiting list. So the person who joined the waiting list first gets the first preference. I don't think there's time during the thing to give that sort of preference, because if there's that hour of check-in and then that 10-minute thing, it's just going to be who's at the computer pressing check-in. And I think that's probably the best way to do it.
But that sucks still.
Whoa!
It's the best way to do it, but it's still not. It's not necessarily a desirable.
You've got okay, but then you got to take a step back and look at it and be like, what am I entering? You're entering a free online tournament.
Yeah, but the implication on it now is very large with people trying to make World Championship. You know, like that it's a huge thing for them, and people who are trying to really put their first foot forward and try and get into these things. It's sometimes you're going to get shut out because of how the system's currently set. It sucks.
But that's the same with any system. There's no like perfect.
Yeah, there's no
system.
perfect.
Like, I mean, you can discuss the flaws with it, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, getting ahead is based on like sitting in the waiting list and waiting to check in.
It's annoying.
But I'm not going to fucking do that because I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. to maybe play a tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just the I guess like the handicap I put on myself, and that's fine with me. I think the way to approach it is when the next season, or the next, I guess, what is it? The spring, when the spring season starts, register for as many tournaments as posted. That's what I've been doing, just registering for like a week's worth of tournaments, like a couple of weeks in advance.
Can we quickly talk about that too? There's all kinds of things with it that I really want to discuss. When it comes to registering, so Blizzard has a website set up now for the World Championship Series, and they have a posting on all of the tournaments that qualify for them that give you World Championship points. And the current list, as you go through it, has the dates and times set for these tournaments, but they actually are not all accurate on Blizzard's website necessarily. For instance, the Get Hermited ones at one point were a day off and like an hour off from their time frame that they were actually being played and put up. So there's inconsistency between the website itself, or this is just kind of like a public service announcement for anybody who wants to know. There's a level of inconsistency between what's getting posted on their website and what's actually happening in the tournaments. On top of that, there's also within the upcoming tournaments, you don't see right now, for instance, Tuesday Night Hype put on by Vicious Syndicate Gaming. It's a weekly tournament. It's been going on for a long time, and it used to be posted in the Hearthstone Tournament Watch page, which is where they basically have all the different tournaments that are going on right now and what servers they're going on that give you World Championship points. And before, you had those Tuesday Night Hype ones always there. They were clearly visible within it. The time frame was correct. You could click for it and register for it. But I noticed that they stopped putting them up there, and so I assumed that they were no longer giving World Championship points. So I stopped registering for them, because when I'm registering for 5 tournaments a week, I don't want to be playing in other tournaments that don't meet the goals that I'm trying to gain. But when I then go to Strivewire and I click on the Vicious Syndicates Gaming's Tuesday Night Hype on Strivewire, it still says that it gets World Championship points. And so there's, on top of like some other issues with it, there's just seems to be confusion within the tournament scene, if those actually are giving us points, or if Blizzard's not allocating points to, or allowing points to be allocated for that particular tournament anymore. And I want to know where I can find a level of consistency, or if there ever is going to be a level of consistency on telling us when tournaments are, and if these tournaments actually do have World Championship Series points allotted to them. So, yeah.
Mm.
Sure.
Yeah, there's not really much else to say about that besides
my only like gripe with the way they're being posted at the moment is kill Kill T on the page of the tournament watch is like spot on. He says, "For the love of God, get us a sort by region button," which is actually the most cancerous fucking thing.
Yeah.
That you cannot sort this by region. It's just it makes me like that. That's what really shits me off. Is I cannot go to the tournament page and sort by regions. Like America, Europe is like, fucking hell, Blizz. It's 2015. Get your fucking shit together. This is absolutely disgusting. How this is like a third world company. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's very daunting to go through the page.
It's like it's maddening. It's like,
It is.
how much is your company worth, and why is this not done now? I suppose that's maybe how you feel about the Tuesday night hype thing, but yeah, no. What I did was I went in and created my own thing. Like my copy pasted obviously the data into and the hyperlinks into an Excel spreadsheet, cut out all the Europe ones, and then sorted by date. And then it's just like, but I don't think I should have to do that.
I specifically bought a calendar for tournaments because of how
sad.
Yeah, it's that complex. I can't do it unless if I'm specifically doing it.
He bought a calendar. Why didn't you just use them like a Google Calendar or something?
Because okay, here's the thing. I could have totally used a Google Calendar, but if it's sitting in front of me and every single night I can look and immediately just turn to my left and say, okay, I got to get up at this time for this tournament, or, oh, I noticed that I have a tournament this time. I just figured it was easier just to have it right in front of me at all times. The other nice thing about it is I can write down little things like, for instance, I just like a normal calendar a little bit more than a Google Calendar too. But for instance, when you're registering for a Battlefy tournament, you have to already pre-register your heroes. But when you're entering a Strivewire one, you don't have to. And so it helps me organize saying, okay, for this tournament, I have Druid, Paladin, Warlock, or for this tournament, I have Priest, Paladin, Warlock, or, and it allows me to just kind of set up basically an organization system that works more suited to what my particular needs are. So
I'm pretty sure you can change it though. Like you can change what classes you enter with.
You can't. You have to unregister and then register again. And I know this because I had that issue happen to me where I was like, I queued into this tournament. Like I signed up for it in like November because I was like, yeah, I'll sign up for it now. And then it's like middle of December, we have a new set out, and it's like I really wanted to be able to change it. And he said, well, the best way to do it is sign out of your thing and sign back on. And so it put me on the wait list. Luckily enough for me, not everybody showed up to the tournament, so I was able to get back into the tournament, which sucks. But the way that I did it is I went onto their Discord chat server and talked to them and said, hey, what should I do? And they said, wait till the last 10 minutes. We'll let you know how many people have signed up or have signed in that were signed up for the tournament. And then you'll know if you can drop out and pick up the correct heroes that you wanted. So it's really infuriating that from that regard too. Not only that, but you want to hear another story about this? I signed up at one point for like 6 tournaments on Battlefy. And then the tournaments still said I was registered for the tournament. I was still logged in. It was said I was in the tournaments. But when I logged back into my account, it said I wasn't actually in the tournament. So like if you look at the tournament page, it says I was registered. But when you look at my account, it says I'm not in it. And so I then had to re-register again. So now I'm in the tournament twice. And I was put on the wait list the second time because for some reason, when I re-logged into my Battlefy account, it didn't show that I was there. And so for a second, I thought, oh, maybe I'm on a different email address. Maybe it's a different account or something. And so I tried all my other options. And no, it was just that their system, for some reason, didn't recognize that I was the person that I had previously was when I registered a month earlier.
So I can safely say that you're a scrub.
Totally.
Because I just registered for the coming Pandaria Cup next week.
Mm-hmm.
Submitted my classes, closed it, reopened it, and then edited my classes.
They may have added that feature, but a month ago
it wasn't there a month ago.
It really wasn't. I haven't talked to the support guys, and I mentioned I said, here's a suggestion, add that in there so you can do that.
No, it's not like 100% intuitive. There's no like edit.
Yeah.
Like the way you have to do it is, for those of you playing at home, is if you would like to edit it, you go into participants, search your name, and so I type in Mushu, and then I click on myself, and then it brings up the 3 classes, and there's a little handy button that says edit classes.
Oh.
So you don't have to be a butthurt in any like Bradley, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I was definitely butthurt at the time.
It could have not been there a month ago, but my money is on it and it's just it's not like obvious that you can do this. That being said, I don't think it needs to be obvious because like from a management standpoint, if people are just fucking dicking around, change their classes all the time, then it's like, man, this tournament sucks. But I suppose in the sense that you could legitimately have like 6 different druid decks sitting there ready to go because you're not restricted by the list, you're restricted by the class.
Yeah,
which is pretty funny. I don't know if that's an interesting like point. It's like, I think it's what it comes back to. I don't know if it's in the tournament rules. It'd have to be in the tournament rules sort of thing with regards to like if I play like Mech Mage and then switch my deck to play Freeze Mage in the next game. Mm-hmm. Do you think? I think obviously that might be against. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing.
It depends on the tournament. I've actually looked this up because I was curious about the same thing, but it depends on the tournament series. Some tournament series say you can change your deck between rounds. Some tournament series say you have to pick 3 and you stick with those. And it's kind of like an accountability thing that's hard for them to manage. But I'm sure if we were suspicious of somebody, I'm sure they could go back through and talk to the people that they previously played, be like, what did they play here? What did they play there? And that's why I think some tournament series are saying you can change it. You can do that between rounds because they just don't want to police that.
Yeah, 100%. I think doing it between rounds is fine. I think if you play Mech Mage in round 1 and play Freeze Mage round 2, that's 100% fine.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck do I care? It's like I didn't play you in round 1. It's like it's not going to affect me too much. But get on it, people. If you would like to play in Hearthstone tournaments, I err on the side of registering as early as you possibly fucking can, because otherwise you're just going to be heartbroken. Yeah. GG.
I feel like the tools have gotten better overall, though. I mean,
Battlefy is like fantastic.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
I haven't tried Strivewire because the cap just shits me off, and I don't want to support that shit. Just kidding. I'll support it as soon as I can get into a tournament. You get notified like 24 hours in advance that your tournament is today on Battlefy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice.
I get an email at like 3 a.m. being like, 24 hours from now, there'll be a tournament at 3 a.m., Mr. Hill, or whatever it says. Mushu, get your shit together, buddy, and come in and check in.
And Strivewire does about the same thing. They don't do a 24-hour notice. I think their notice is like a 5-hour notice or something like that. Or like, and then an hour before, they'll send out one more thing saying, hey, time to register. But yeah, they both do that really well. That's something that's very nice.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to send out a notification email that's computer generated. It's like, it's just like, I think it's just a quality of life thing.
Sure. First world problems.
I had one of my games streamed. Like I got pulled aside by the added by like 3 different people, and being told, "Please hold your game. Your game's going to be streamed." Then I proceeded to get 3-0'd, and I was just like, "Man, I look like a fucking scrub."
Who did you play?
Actually, no, it wasn't 3-0'd. No, I think it was in one of the Pandaria Cups, and I got 2-0'd against Secret Paladin. I just got absolutely like fucked. I have no idea. Some misc. Some dude just bent me over with his Secret Pally, which happens. I mean, sometimes, you know, you get wild growth, innovate two games in a row and you just win. But it's the same sort of thing. Sometimes you get Mysterious Challenger on turn 6 and Dr. Boom on turn 7 and then Tyrion on turn 8. And no one...
GG.
If you can deal with that, then you phenomenal. You're in a phenomenal position.
I think I've done it once.
I know I played it out a bunch, done that a bunch of times, like Challenger Boom. Tyrion is just the dirtiest thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if you had any board presence before turn 6, sorry. Then it's just unfair. It's like, how is anyone supposed to deal with that? It's like, particularly if you're in a losing board state before turn 6.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I want to concede. Oh, I want to concede. But yeah, that's my gripe and victory and terrifying stories about tournaments for the week at least.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic.
I'm glad we had a pretty thorough discussion about it because it's something that it's heavy on my head right now, and I've been thinking about it, and I've been trying to come up with strategies for all different modes, and strategies for even getting inside the tournaments because of their capping. And I want other people's opinions because like two heads are better than one, unless if you're like an ogre ninja or something.
Much like BlizzCon points, 2 BlizzCon points are better than 1.
Yes,
something like that.
Much like BlizzCon points.
It's gonna be such a fucking clown fiesta at the end of this season. In that, at the end of the springs. I don't know what season are we in. Summer. It's summer for me, so it mustn't be summer. It must be winter. Then regarded by NA, it's the winter season. Man, it's gonna be such a fucking clown fiesta. It's been great. 7,000 person double limb bracket.
That's going to be a funny tournament to watch.
Yeah. God.
Oh, hey, one other thing that I want to mention. A strategy I've been trying for ladder climbing. That's something I was thinking about. With tournaments going on and people grinding for world championship points, there a number of the good players on the server who grind the tournament series are going to be in tournaments during certain time frames. And this is weird, but it's been working pretty well. I've noticed the quality of player is lower. It may not be everyone, but maybe one in about every 3 to 4 games that you're going to queue up against. You're not going to see as quality of players because they're all in tournaments during certain time frames. So I wonder if a strategy for ladder climbing would be, we know that Strivewire's Tuesday Night Hype starts at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's the time frame I should be on ladder if I'm not going to be in that tournament.
Yeah, there's definitely been some sort of people anecdotally stating that ladder's easier at certain times. And obviously it would stand to reason that if you take a couple of hundred of really good players out, or at least enthusiast grade players out of the scene, out of the ladder pool at a certain time, it's probably favorable for you to clear a queue up. But I would also make the argument that there's probably a fair whack of those players who wouldn't be playing anyway at that particular time. They're playing because they're in a tournament, and if they weren't in the tournament, they'd be doing something else.
I mean, that's fair enough. It's just, I think it may not decrease the number dramatically, but it does, in my opinion. It's something to consider. It's something that I would I'm going to test around with a little bit and see. Since I'm following all these tournaments anyways now, I might as well, be like, oh, I'm not queued for this one on Friday because I can't stay there all day on this Friday, so I'll just go ahead and queue my time on ladder to be in sequence with what would be the first round of that tournament, and probably not play as many people that I would otherwise not want to play on a ladder necessarily when I'm trying to climb the legend.
I know I've anecdotally found that past midnight my time, which is mid-afternoon for you guys, is one of the easiest times to climb. I think it's because the pleb pool is so much bigger. All the USA players are playing.
It's probably more children getting out of school.
That's what I mean.
Playing. Yeah.
There's a lot of pleb players in the pool.
Yeah. Which
is nice because easy games are always nice.
Oh, for sure.
So Brad,
I've noticed that as well as, but I don't generally play during that time frame, which sucks. But that's totally a strategy you can try as well.
You don't stream tournaments.
Yeah, so since that conversation we had last week.
Yeah.
You know how we were talking about the idea of people checking out your tournament, looking at your stream while you're
boys.
You totally spooked me. And the next day after we recorded last week, I played in a tournament, and since I had just rebuilt my PC, I had some audio issues that showed up. And so the first round of the tournament, I was in a game 1 and I was playing the Ramp Druid deck, and I had BGH in hand, and he plays Dr. Boom. But since I had those issues with my audio, I was messing with the audio stuff off to the side, wasn't paying attention to the game. And then it goes to rope, and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And I was like, play this Force of Nature. So I played Force of Nature to clear the Dr. Boom because I have my life total. And then I was like, pass. And as soon as I passed, I was like, oh my God, Dr. Boom is in my hand. It kills, or BGH is in my hand. It kills Dr. Boom. I had the answer in hand, but because I was so focused on the stream, I didn't play it correctly. And then two rounds after, I ended up winning that round, by the way. I got lucky, and even though I punted that game because of it, I lost the game because I ended up actually drawing Savage Roar the turn afterwards, and I would have been able to combo him off. But like an idiot, I didn't use my BGH, and then it basically did nothing after that. Then 2 rounds after that, I was playing, and my opponent afterwards came into my stream and said, "Good game," and and at that point I was like, and I don't post my stream on the tournament thing. Like some people use it for advertising purposes. They're like, "Here's me streaming this tournament, check it out," because it's, for some people that's good because they want to learn about the tournament scene and those kind of things. But I'm not trying to teach people about the tournament scene because I'm trying to be a competitor in the tournament scene. So I don't want to put myself in a disadvantage. But anyway, I won that matchup, but it's still, at the same time, it's like, I don't advertise, but people know me enough within the Hearthstone scene that 1 in about every 6 people that I play are going to know my stream. And so, or know that I at least stream. And so they might come in and check it out. And even with a stream delay, I was actually running a 10-minute delay. It still is a chance that they're going to know, because the round previous might be playing while I'm playing the round against those people, and they'll know the decks that I've queued up already. And so I've just kind of decided it's not worth streaming tournaments anymore.
Or you pulled that Big Game Hunter turn 3. Here it is, turn 7.
Right.
That might be enough time for them to know he's had it in his hands. It's turn 3, obviously.
Yes.
Maybe I don't play, whatever.
If I'm playing against somebody and we're both thinking through all of our turns really long, 10 minutes, if they play turn 7, 8, 9, Dr. Boom, and they're like, well, he's got the BGH, I don't want to play this now. And they know they don't want to commit the Dr. Boom at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just decided it's not worth it. And I'm sorry to the viewers that watch my stream that wanted me to want to be able to watch tournaments. In fact, last night somebody was kind of like, "Oh man, I really wish you'd stream tournaments." And I was like, "You're more than welcome to add me on Battle.net and watch my tournament from, when I'm playing against people on Battle.net. That's fine, but I'm not going to stream it anymore." It's just, if you want to be serious as a competitor, it doesn't make sense to stream your tournaments.
Right.
You should just host me during the tournaments. I'll stream the tournaments all day.
All right,
it's a way to, like, I guess, to add. So we talked about how, like, when you lose late in the tournament, like before the round of 8 or round of 4, sorry, and you're in, I guess, in the money in a sense, in that you've made some gain from your effort. Streaming it and putting in the time for your viewers and shit would be a way to offset that time that you waste, but obviously you run the risk of being thing. And I think one way to do it would be to change, like, either your in-game name or change your Battlefy name and run like a different name, so it's not 100% obvious who you are. That would be my approach.
Yeah, if you're gonna stream, that's the way I think you should do it. You should mask yourself as much as you can, unless if you're just playing it for
not
fun,
Bradford Lee.
Definitely not Bradford Lee. Don't go to twitch.tv/Bradford Lee. Not me.
I'm Tag2, also known as Gooch.
So I don't know. You scared me out of it, Mushu. That conversation got me to the point where I was like, all right.
Yeah, don't have sex, otherwise you'll die.
DRC confirmed?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's always been my strategy. PSA as well. If you see someone with the lineup of fucking, what is it? Shaman, Mage, and Paladin. It's going to be Secret Paladin, Mech Mage, and an Aggro Shaman.
Yeah, right.
It's the new fucking Warlock Hunter Mage like lineup. It's just disgusting.
All aggro all the time.
Every day.
I actually haven't seen that lineup at all.
Okay, I saw it like 3 times, and I was like, "Oh man, I know what the fuck you're doing. I invented this shit." And I didn't. I campaigned against it, but
So is that it?
Try that.
Is that it for tournament talk?
I think that's it for tournament talk.
All right. I have. We have another topic to talk about. It kind of leads in. Magnus Barelegs brought up. He said on the stream,
Magnus Barelegs.
Barelegs, as in bear. He said, is it too, what do you say? Here it is. Has it been long enough to decide whether or not Mike's prediction on Silent Night was incorrect? I quickly responded, no.
The verdict's still out on Silent Night.
It is. I think it's too early, and I think it's unfair to really put a judgment on this amazing card that is Silent Knight, which is a 2/2 for 3 stealth divine shield. I love this card so much that I actually crafted 2 golden versions of it. You just wait. It's going to be people are going to be complaining. Yanmu, please nerf Silent Knight. It's coming. When is it coming? Ben Brode, whoever you name. It's coming.
Youngway's just gonna laugh at you.
Yeah.
Silent Night.
But I little segue into, we've had a couple cool videos discussions that have come out this past week. Just about, I guess, the state of the game, the future of the game, the past of the game, both from, I guess you could, a dev and a player, kind of different topics, but they're related in a way. So if you haven't seen already, spoilers, well, not really even spoilers, but Ben Brode put out a video this week just kind of talking about development of Hearthstone and reactions from the community from when we have lulls kind of in between releases or new game modes like Tavern Brawl, which I guess a little spoiler, he said that Tavern Brawl was being developed even before the game exited beta.
I lost my shit when he said that.
Yeah, I mean, think about how long ago that was. Like, I was shocked. Like, holy crap. And he said this, which I think I agree. This kind of just says they put time and effort into this game. I never doubted that. I mean, it's a Blizzard game. I don't know any of their modern games that they didn't put everything into. But I kind of understand, like, the we get a sense of a lull when they don't say anything, but I feel like that's just a Blizzard game in general. Warcraft maybe being the only game that I can think of that has any sort of there's always something coming out from, like, a blue post or something. So I don't know. It was just interesting, but go ahead.
He basically summarized it's easier to, like, what was it? Under promise and over
deliver. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's 100% what they do. It's like they under promise and over deliver. But then there's also, like, this, I guess, this, like, witch hunting almost that comes with it, where they're like, tell us some shit, this shit's OP, that sort of thing. But I think Ben Brode doing these videos is a step, obviously, in the right direction, sort of bridging that gap between developer and player.
Yeah.
I think, well, obviously, in times gone by, there's been somewhat of a large gap between developer and game player. And then I think people, the first person to really sort of pioneer engaging in the mob mentality of let's approach these people and see what they have to say was Ghostcrawler back in, like, the earlier days of WoW, when he first started talking to people on the forums. And then here we are in 2015 when people like Ben Brode were tweeting at Ben Brode.
Yeah.
He made some good points, but, like, my idea is, like, I just don't care that much. Like, it doesn't bother me. It's going to come out at some point.
Right.
Yeah. If like Mysterious Challenger is OP, they're going to nerf it at some point. They're not silly.
Well, what scares me there is that they're going to nerf it into the damn ground is what they're going to do to it. That's what I hate.
Well, I think like they'd probably just, but the thing is, the paladin genre, well, the paladin archetype probably doesn't die if they nerf it into the ground.
Oh, sure, no.
Secret paladin dies.
Control paladin's a thing right now, I've been noticing. A lot of people have been playing it.
Yeah.
I think you could inherently, like, cap the amount of secrets a secret paladin, like, brings out and not destroy the archetype, but definitely, like, limit it. You might almost empower it by, because it saves you could only have 3 secrets pop out, then you free up, like, in some lists, like 4 or 5 slots where you can just add, like, equality and build it more mid-rangey. And it's just like a little spike of tempo. But yeah, I thought it seems to be, but there's a lot of people bitching, and that's what I sort of think what he was addressing.
Yeah.
It's like, with things like Reddit and Twitter, it's really easy to see. You're only ever going to really see the people who are polarized
Yeah.
in that there are people who
Yeah.
are really going out of their way to say, good job, Ben Bro, good job,
Right.
Team 5, good job, Blizzard. Or people say, fuck you, Blizzard, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Fuck you,
And-
Ben Bro.
I mean, and especially yesterday, specifically yesterday, completely different game. Was on the way to work, and I was listening to a podcast called Reply All, and they were talking about a game that just came out called I don't know if you guys have heard of it, That Dragon Cancer.
Yeah, that's Razor's game, isn't it?
Yes. And so
Yes.
they did a podcast on that game, and there's like documentary coming out. Basically, it's a game, a father and I guess his wife, I don't know, I think she just voice acted in it, but they were developing a game about what it was like to raise a son with cancer. They had I guess their son Joel passed away when he was 4, just battled cancer for years. And just kind of what it was like. And the podcast was like really good. It was just, good to hear the story. But then I get in and I was like, I'm actually going to try this. It seems really neat. Like, how many games do we get that have zero storyline, zero emotion at all? And I wouldn't even call this a game. Far to played it. It's just an interactive movie. Interactive story more than a game, I guess. But Jesus, the Steam community, I know it's not everybody, but there are some freaking horrible people out there in the world right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
100%.
like, geez, like, and even the people are like, oh, they're just, they're banking and cashing out on their son's death. It's like, you have got to be freaking kidding me. After hearing, the parents.
That's excellent. People jump to that.
Oh my God. But like listening now, and this, I put a post on that was like, I think the developers need to kind of rethink their description of the game on Steam, because after listening to the podcast and then coming and looking at the description, it's like, oh, I can see where some people are getting a little confused. Because if you've come and you listen to these parents talk about their experience, it's like, holy crap, like talk about like Bible thump tears, man. But that all to say, like, the mom mentality, like, geez, I can only imagine what like the Blizzard team goes through on some of these things. Because there's people like us that are like, oh, it's coming soon, I'm not worried about it. Blizzard makes good stuff, not worried about it. And then there's people like, I haven't heard anything in 2 days. Oh my God, is the game over? Are they doing anything? I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
You know?
I don't know.
I think like it comes from a mob mentality of just looking for that sort of support, looking for like-minded people. This, I guess, the confirmation bias of the way you feel is correct. And when you see everyone on Reddit being like, "Hey, this game sucks. These people are awful people. Let's join them."
Yeah,
and it's very very sort of infectious almost. People like jump on the bandwagon. That's like speaks to the whole mob mentality in general.
Yeah,
and also because there's no consequences. I mean,
no,
There is no consequence.
and anonymity is king.
When earlier this year there was a private server of WoW released that was based on the original.
Yeah,
it was vanilla WoW, and they were having server problems when it went live. And I was
2 million people were on the server.
Well, not 2 million. It's like 6,000, but that's still massive for like a private server to host. It's like one of the bigger ones. Anyway, when it was open and I couldn't like get on, they were having massive issues at the start, and I was just like posting on their page the most like vindictive, like just assholey comments, like the most entitled comments. It's like, you promised me like a server that could handle all this. Where the fuck is it? Why did I stay up until 4 a.m.? You piece of shit, you lied to me and shit like that. Partly because I was quite angry that I stayed up to 4 a.m. and I couldn't play. But also, like, I sort of like almost felt like a lot of their advertising had spoken to the fact that they were going to be ready, that I was going to be able to get on at 4 a.m. And that I was like an unsatisfied customer. But because I didn't pay for it, that I'm not entitled to a good product. And obviously, to some extent, that's true. But I was really just being an entitled asshole. And there was like in the comments on the Facebook page, there were people going both ways about it. Like people saying, yeah, this guy's right. What the fuck's going on? And other people be like, shut the fuck up, you entitled motherfucker. They're giving you a free game. And I was really just mad. Like the next day, I was like, I was like, oh.
I was that way when
I was such a cunt to these people.
I felt that way when Warlords dropped because I took off work that day. I was like, oh man, I'm getting back into it again. Let's play it. And for any of you played, you knew it was like you waited to spawn and you could run around and no one would be there. And then 20 minutes later, you're near a quest giver. Like, okay, I finally get the things are starting to pop in. I can finally click on that quest giver, the first quest in the new Outland or whatever. And then everyone else spawns at the same time. And you realize you're one of like 300 people. You can't see the quest giver anymore. It's like, oh my God, did I really?
My favorite fucking part about that is it was the guys at the start of the thing, because the first like 40 minutes, an hour of your questing experience in Warlords is instance. It's gated, like so it's only you, and then you get spat out into Shadow Moon Valley. But like savvy WoW players such as myself, you know how to quest in those heavy like environments, in that you know how to zoom in and make sure you click on the quest giver and how to like do things like that. And you always want to do quests in groups because you can get the credit from standing in different spots, and it's just there are ways to get around it. But I fucking love every like year. Well, I suppose like it's still every 2 years that WoW comes out, and there's just this just absolute just like crazy shit going on. And it's one of my favorite things about WoW.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
Which is why I just fucking love the MMO genre. I'll be playing MMO that goes live this weekend called Blade and Soul or something like that.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so that's gonna be good this weekend. But
yeah,
the TLDR is devs have it rough.
Yeah,
they really do.
Well, they do.
And I was wondering about this too. Ben was kind of talking about people looking for new content, new ways to play, tournament mode, things like that. I'm wondering if part of the difficulty too, as a player, is maybe you get burnt out. I mean, I got burnt out on ladder, like what you talked about at the beginning of the show, for like a month and a half. Whereas other card games, physical card games, you can play the normal way. Magic, you can play Commander. There's so many other ways to play it where we don't have that yet because it's a digital game. That's what I'm more interested in, is more ways to play with what we have, which this will kind of segue into what we're going to talk about next. But I think that's the only thing that I feel impatient about, is like Tavern Brawl is great and all, but I don't know. We want the tournament mode, and we've talked about how they're going to handle power creep. Are we going to have like a what do we call it? What is it called? Magic, where you can play anything versus like any set, and then a legacy.
Oh, you mean like legacy versus?
Yeah.
So legacy, just to give people what Mike's perspective on what Mike is saying. He's saying the idea of the last 20 years of cards versus the last 10 years of cards versus the last 5 year versus the last 2 year.
Right.
It's kind of different formats in Magic. And I think Hearthstone should implore that there. I mean, it seems like it'd be pretty simple to say, okay, you can play with all the cards in Hearthstone. Here's another format. You can only play with the last year of cards in Hearthstone. And that's going to create different dynamics. And it's nice. And it's going to create a meta for each each type of play that you pick.
Yeah.
So.
I have a feeling it's just going to be pigeonholed into Tavern Brawl, but I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong too.
we need to see a way where Silent Night becomes like, oh my God, Dr. Boom and ranked, Silent Night in fill in the blank. There it is.
What was the other guy, Gazlo or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Is it Gazlo? Is that the legend that people were all hyped up about?
Yeah, they were very hyped about him.
Trogzor is the one I'm thinking of, not Gazlo.
It was Gazlo, but I was hyped about Trogzor. I really want him to be a thing.
No, it's
Love
just
Trogzor.
I think that's where like people, because BGH is good sort of in the sense that it's a reactive play, and I think that's where the mentality of Trogzor was going to be good came from. It's like it's a really good reactive play, but Dr. Boom, buddy, just the proactive player.
Dr. Boom,
yeah.
Dr. Boom,
yeah. The card that made BGH playable, or even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dr. Boom's insane.
So, and that
Maybe we may just make a format where you can't play Dr. Boom.
Right, yeah.
It's a whole new format all of a sudden. Just take out Piloted Shredder, Dr. Boom, and like, we're good to go. It's a whole new game now.
Yeah. And this kind of segues into a video that Crip did, Criparian. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's a streamer. I guess he does a lot of, or he's known for his arena plays, but I guess he's gotten into more ranked and tournaments, things like that. He did a video a couple days ago on, I guess it was around this last Tavern Brawl where you built a deck based around a bonus that you would pick it on your first turn. So the bonuses were play a spell, get 3 armor, all your Death Rattle minions get +1/+1, all your Battlecry minions get +1/+1, and you get a 1/1 Murloc at the end of every turn. So it was kind of, all right, play a Death Rattle deck, play a Battlecry deck, play a Murloc deck, or play a Spell Heavy deck. And he brought it up, and this was something that I felt but didn't really, I didn't think of I didn't realize what I was feeling. He said, playing this, I felt a lot of nostalgia come back because I was playing Murloc decks, and he was able to play other decks that were kind of popular, especially like Battlecry or Death Rattle decks. Obviously, when Nex came out, those were very popular. And that's exactly, as soon as he said that, I'm like, that's exactly how I felt. It was just because we were playing those decks that we've been playing or that we did play a year or more ago, versus, and he used these words, these finely tuned decks that we're seeing today. Now, I feel like compared to 6 months ago, we're playing a lot more decks now, or a lot more decks are viable than they were 6 months ago, or even like, before Nax. I mean, what was it like? It was Miracle Rogue, Face Hunter, Zoolock, Handlock, and that was kind of it. Hey, what do you guys? That was pretty much it. It was like 4 or 5 decks, and that was it. That's all you ever saw.
But it's proportionate to the amount of cards we have. I mean,
sure.
We have,
Sure.
2 or 3 times the amount of cards, so it's reasonable to assume we have 2 or 3 times the amount of decks.
Yeah.
And something gets better.
Yeah. So, in the video that he did, I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can watch it. The first part of it is the relevant part. The rest of it, he's just playing a deck, just showing what he was talking about. But he was playing Freeze Mage, basically, which that deck still around, has been around for a long time. But what he was saying was he was able to control the game more with the healing aspect of playing spells. My argument to to that statement is we have a lot of healing in the game right now. Reno Jackson, anti-heal bots. Are people just playing too greedy for the sake of it, or do we have the tools right now to dictate a game? Like aggro decks have the ability to control the flow of a game. There really aren't any control decks, maybe Control Warrior. And if you get a good draw, obviously, well, no, even those are reliant on what you draw. Aggro decks I have the most power to control, to dictate the speed of a game. What do you guys think? We'll start there. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. His point, I think, was that we live in a time where we're not seeing a lot of control, just like you're saying.
Sure.
And it's it's true that the aggro decks are very resilient these days. You have death rattle effects that are really, it's just hard for the control warrior or control decks in general to clear and deal with them. But the difference, and the reason I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, is that control also got some tools. I think of like Reno Lock specifically. Yeah. You know, it's not necessarily a pure control deck. It's more of like an attrition deck, a deck that's trying to run its opponent out of resources or put itself in a position where it's dealt with the early resources and used AoE effects to gain 2-for-1s and slowly get chipped away, but then try and stabilize with something like an anti-heal bot or Reno to try and get it to leverage position at that point. But he's 100% correct in saying that we now live in a time when decks are more refined and have, that Egg Druid deck, for instance. It doesn't have anything that costs more than 4 mana for a reason, because you can efficiently kill people with things that cost less than 4 now. We have very strong threats in Piloted Shredder at 4. We have like Haunted Creepers, which are very strong 2-mana creatures, and it becomes troublesome and hard to always have the right answer for every single deck. But the thing about it is, and you see this in Magic, when a new set comes out in Magic, and this is true with Hearthstone as well, the aggro decks are going to be putting up better results generally. Not always, but like if say somebody plays Secret In because they know it's a very solid list already, or they're playing a well-tuned Tempo Mage deck or an aggro Shaman deck, and they're crushing the ladder with it. It's because these people who are playing control decks haven't been able to change the resources in their decks to adapt to what is the meta, what aggro decks are doing now. So like if aggro decks are spitting out a bunch of 1/1s with muster for battle, then maybe you should be playing Whirlwind in your Control Warrior decks. Right. Or, and obviously Paladin's not necessarily the most desirable matchup for Control Warrior. But then say, for instance, you're in a different circumstance and you're seeing more like aggro Shaman and Face Hunter. Maybe you should be having shield blocks in your deck instead, where it's less about maintaining board position or controlling the board as much as possible, as it's more about just not dying and putting your life total above a certain amount. And so I think Control has enough resources to battle out against the aggro decks. And I would actually state that I think Control is now in a better place than it was during the Grand Tournament period of Hearthstone. Now that we have Reno available to us and Brand Bronzebeard, as well as a couple other different pieces that help out against some of the aggressive decks. I think the Control Warrior or Control decks have just. I think they're well positioned enough that a player who knows how to play Control well or can game against the specific meta that they're seeing is going to be able to really gain an edge as a Control player right now.
Have you seen Brad Brunsbeard in Zoo though? It's fucking hilarious.
Oh god,
it's pretty good in Zoo.
It fucking wins games like double Argus. What the real cancerous thing is? What's his name? Dark Peddler. Double Dark
so
Peddler.
Good.
It's just like
I got 2 Soulfires now.
Yeah, I was going to say when you hit the double Soulfire, I think the tier 1 is like power overwhelming Soulfire. That's definitely I think is better.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get Hungry Crab. It's just like man, fuck this game. I don't want to play it. But dude, oh my god, Dark Pet. Just to sidetrack it for a sec, Dark Peddler in Zoo. It's just ridiculous. He's my hero. Just like Living Roots has become my new hero in Druid.
Yes, solid card.
It's such a fantastic card.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what the young Kriparian was saying.
Yeah,
that if we fundamentally change the game's rules, it'll be more fun.
Right. So, just one, because what you were talking about, Brad. Control's in a better place. I can't speak for just recently, but I feel like in the past, Control's been a lot about min-maxing, getting building a deck based around what you think, what aggro you're going to run into. Because like you were saying, Paladin's not the best.
Which a deck am I going to
right, exactly. Whereas,
we moved away from that.
Right, but like an aggro deck, but like an aggro deck, it's like, oh, I don't care what you're playing. My goal is to hit your face as quickly as possible, so you're not able to use any of your tools. So that is the only thing that, as far as what Crip was saying, that I'm like, okay, I can follow. I'm picking up what you're stepping and kind of,
I think that comes from the oversimplification of what you just said.
It is, yes.
I hit your face, but like the aggro game is like, instead of making all your decisions at the end, like mid to end game, like you do with a Control or like later blooming tempo deck, you make all the big decisions early in the game.
Yeah,
like that's the difference. Is you make these big decisions early in the game, and there's like by that, I guess the cards that you play and that you're working with have inherently less power because they're early game cards, and so you can get fucked much harder by like say a good board clear. But that's sort of where you need the power of like these sticky minions to contest these board clears and these removal. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be fun if like Control was dominant.
yeah,
If
no,
there was
absolutely.
one card,
Absolutely.
There's a 4-mana twisting never. It'd be like, yay.
Yeah. Because no one would play control or I'm sorry, aggro. It would just be nothing but control for days.
I think, yeah, dude. I think
But-
we're pretty
Yeah.
spot at the moment. But I think
I do too.
it bring like the raising the because his main point was like just addressing maybe changing some of the fundamental mechanics. Of
Yeah, like,
Hearthstone.
if you're- he said
raising
health
the
pool.
health cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main point. Was
yeah,
raising the health pool from 30 to 40, which I think it goes along the same sort of like idea of it speaks from the same thought process as raising the amount of cards in the deck.
right.
That now that we've got so many cards, that you should raise the amount of deck slot or deck total cards in a deck
Mhm.
because we have so many cards. There's so many things you want to put into a deck,
Mhm.
and it's the same in that health is there are so many things that deal damage, so many like sticky fucking minions. There are so many things that can get good value and just smack you in the face. That we should raise the health pool, but those things I think inherently make the game longer. Particularly if you implemented both of them. If you have more cards and more HP, it's going to take a lot longer to finish a game. But I think
Mm.
maybe like if you wanted to reboot Hearthstone, if we really got to a shit spot, but we needed to do something to keep it fresh, like restart, like just change these fundamental mechanics of Hearthstone. I think that would be the last thing they would want to do. I can see them like going back and changing like old cards, like buffing old cards.
And we've talked about that. Yeah,
But I think it was just like an example in like, you know, these are the fundamental rules of Hearthstone. What if it was different? And that's what Tavern Brawl is really about. Is like, what if it was different? And I think if they ever really hit gold mines, and they test things in Tavern Brawl. Like Discover was tested in Tavern Brawl before it started.
Yep.
Mm.
But so it's an interesting point. Like, I think discussing Kriparian's like ideas just for the sake of discussing is like interesting, but I don't think it will take any sort of like weight in. So that's the realist inside of me.
No,
Just like,
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that if anything, the most realistic idea of anything that could possibly ever change is old cards. It would just basically related to power creep. I think that's, in my opinion, that's the only potential thing I could see changing on their end.
I mean, it brings me back to a conversation we've had before of, you know, rotations. Like, really what he's trying to do is how do you shift the meta? Well, do you make a fundamental change in the way that you shift the meta? And I can admit this. My favorite time frame playing Magic the Gathering is once every year there's a rotation period where the old cards are gone and the new cards are in, you know, and the card pool goes back to being about 800 cards and then goes down to 400 all of a sudden, you know, and so it's a much smaller card pool, but the meta shifts completely. I'm not even talking like a shift in the meta. I'm talking decks disappear. Like it's like once a year, the game is brand new. There is no, you know, it's no like, hey, here's Control Warrior. It's going to stick around. It's like Control Warrior's gone. Secretin's gone. Grim Patron's gone. We don't have access to those cards anymore. Now we have these new cards and new decks start forming from it. And I think if you really wanted, I don't think they have to change the fundamentals of the game in order to create a new dynamic or a just as fun experience for people. A real way to make a new dynamic experience for people, in my opinion, still is just find a way to rotate out certain cards and bring in new cards so that people are always playing something new. You know, it's not always going to be 2 years down the line, we're still playing Tempo Mage, Face Hunter still exists, Secretin still exists. You know, it's not that we're refining the decks that currently exist and one gets better in the meta. It's that it's a brand new game at that point. And that's great. And that's my favorite part about Magic. And it's my least favorite part about Hearthstone is the fact that we don't have that. So yeah. Discussion we've had before though.
Yeah.
This just in, we're getting legendary spells in Legion, not in Hearthstone. In Legion 7.0, there'll be legendary spells.
Legendary spells?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
For example,
you got a quest for them?
Yeah. They don't have names yet. 7.0, legendary mage, fire spec, dragon's breath range increases by 25 yards. That sounds ridiculous. Anyway.
Wow.
Something that popped into my feed.
Well.
How to sideline the conversation in 8 seconds. Should we get to propagating rumors and such?
I'm down for that. Yeah. What is DRC? Where does DRC confirm this week?
Something Masan? Like I was watching.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna bring it up.
It's kind of what I thought we were going to discuss here.
That's fair. All right.
Well,
What?
I was watching a bunch of. I don't know what you guys want to talk about. I was watching videos about like viewbotting from like a year and a half ago, but I don't know what the recent drama is. What's the recent drama? Give me the 411.
I guess the recent drama is players or streamers being are you
Setting
just
up
explain it,
spots.
Brad? Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I've been following this because it's of interest to me since I stream. It's a known thing that on Twitch people use view bots. And what view bots basically are, they increase the number of viewers that are showing up in your stream, and it puts you higher on the Twitch counter that shows that you're like the most popular streamer. So for instance, Masan was using them to a level. I mean, again, the verdict is still technically out if it was him that was actually doing it, but I think it's safe to make an assumption that he has a hand in this at this point. After some evidence that's come out, but we won't get into that specifically as it's not necessarily the conversation here. But he goes, if it's the question of like, if you look at the front page of Twitch and you want to say somebody's view botting and all of a sudden they're on the front page of Twitch, they're like the top 10 streamers. In fact, Masan, I believe, was number 1 at certain time frames. And that's the difference between him being like number 10 on just the Hearthstone page and number 1 on Twitch. And if you're number 1 on Twitch, the ad revenue that you're making is increasing. The money that he's drawing in is greater for him. So there's an incentive for a streamer to do something like this. But at the same time, it's completely against the terms of service at Twitch. Now, there's a Twitch subreddit that I follow, and it's heavily discussed on the Twitch subreddit, not just necessarily about Masan, but about people in general doing this. And from the perspective of Twitch, it's not a bad thing for them necessarily.
Right.
They're not going to come out and say this, but it's not necessarily a bad thing for them, because if all of a sudden all these streams say there's tons of people there, more people are going to check out these streams, and they're going to get more people to stay in streams potentially longer. And so it's from them, it's potentially more advertising money that they're making as well. So like, it's this weird catch-22 that we live in with Twitch, where it's against the terms of service. People are doing it though. And some of these people are not getting, the ban hammer is not coming down on them because there's no incentive for Twitch or some of the other people to jump in and do it. So getting back to Masan, recently there was a couple other different streamers that were noting that he was trying to sell a spot out of a tournament because of his he was trying to like sell his spot in a tournament to, I believe it was Dog.
Wow.
So that he could. Yeah, and then he specifically also said, you have to share the winnings with me or something like that, I believe was what he said. Something along those lines. And which if that were to be done in Magic has a really, really extensive judge rule system. Actually, if you search comprehensive rules on the internet, the first thing that pops up is the Magic the Gathering comprehensive rules. And there's a whole judge's rules and rules about collusion. And that's a level of collusion that is ban worthy. You would get banned from the tournament and banned potentially from competitive play. And so it's interesting to me that in Hearthstone, that's not necessarily a set rule yet, but it's certainly on the level of shadiness that I think it could implore somebody moving towards that strategy. Another thing that has been noted is there was a streamer who was streaming at one point and had view bots kind of like show up in the channel, and all of a sudden they're everywhere. And the next day in the Liquid Hearth forum was saying, "Hey, your streamer has view bots. Here's the evidence." And the person was like, "Huh, that's interesting, because those view bots came in yesterday, and now all of a sudden it's on their forums and it's saying you should kick them off your team for view botting or whatever." And then they traced the IP address back, and it was traced back to an IP address that apparently went to Masan. And this information has come out recently, but it's been something that they've been holding on to for a while until they had like the right timing to bring it out. So now it's this big drama, and it's all over the Hearthstone subreddit, and it's like the topic of discussion right now. And it's a shame that it's the topic of discussion, because there should be somebody on either the Twitch side of it or, like Hearthstone side of it that says this person is not allowed to, if they're going to be view botting, they're not allowed to be a part of the community in the way that they are, because, or they need to say it's okay. There needs to be a clear, decisive ruling on how this functions, because for the people like myself who don't view bot, it's damaging to my stream potentially, because other streamers are view botting themselves up and getting more views just naturally because they're higher on the list from that standpoint. And two, from a viewer standpoint, the quality of content that you're watching when you're streaming may not be as good, because those people that are paying for view bots or have a view bot software on their computer and they're running their own view bots, those people are going to be higher in the ranking and may not actually be the most popular or most desirable person to watch on Twitch. So it creates this sort of interesting dynamic that I don't know. I'm still, my personal opinion on it is kind of out. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
I don't know how in any way you could be for view bots. It's just like it's completely diluting, like, I guess the industry, in that if sponsors find out, if this becomes like Twitch has to have a no tolerance stance on it, otherwise it just fucks them. They can have a no tolerance standpoint or like a negative standpoint on it and then not particularly spend a lot of time enforcing it. But I remember when we interviewed CM Mike, that he talked about some viewer of his flooding his channel with 400 viewers.
I remember that.
Or 4K, some large amount of viewers, and it's just, and that was completely against his will. And Twitch cracked down on him for it. It's like, they're view bots. What the fuck are you doing? And he was like, it's a viewer of mine. I don't have any control over it. It's like, no, you need to fix it. And that's sort of like, I guess because it's hard to fix it.
Sure.
Is why they're not don't have a really harsh stance on it. But in the sense that if sponsors catch wind that everyone's view botting and stuff, and these numbers that people are being paid for are inflated for the ad revenue, then sponsors are going to start withdrawing and go to a streaming service that can monitor it. It's just 4,000 of those views were just the same person just duping it. It's like, man, you don't deserve my fucking money. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And that's what'll happen. It's just sort of I think that one thing they said was in this montage of videos that we were talking about it, and it was a Mars, wasn't it? The streamer for Liquid. Because this is back when he was,
I believe. Yeah,
back when he was on Liquid.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yep.
So they're very good at keeping secrets, because no one outside of the 4 or 5 people who knew about this at the time actually know until it all blew up in the past week, which is amazing that they can keep a secret for that long. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
If someone murders someone in the Hearthstone scene, it's gonna be no one's ever gonna find out. It's great.
All of a sudden, someone disappears.
It's
on go.
I think that at the end of the day, that's all it does, is it doesn't tarnish anything but Masan's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and maybe, and I wouldn't even think less of Cloud9 at this point. It's not their fucking fault. It's Masan. It's all Masan.
But I think you bring up a good point, Brad. You kind of talked about it off air. It's all right. So allegedly, Masan's doing it. Who else is doing it? What potential problems does this cause by a bunch of people inflating numbers?
It's not that hard to police. I don't think that you surely would be able to rig up some sort of IP buster or something. And if you see you'd be able to set a limit of say 3 or 4 views from the same IP or something like that. And then after that, it's kick them out or something.
Right.
The thing is that other people just they'll employ strategies of where they're putting in fake IPs and so you can't recognize the IP.
Well, that's the obviously it's going to get to a state where it's somewhat untraceable, but I think pushing it towards that state is probably the best idea, in that forcing people to innovate, or trying to eradicate it and forcing people to innovate the way they're getting around it is probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, it's going to get to a point where it's unmonitorable, and then that's just not going to matter to the sponsors, where it's well, it's not going to be obvious to them.
Yeah, and put it to a point where the person has to actually invest money. Is it offshore hosting? Whatever it might be, it's going to cost them money. But here's the thing: I get the feeling that if someone's doing that, there's a difference between someone like me doing that and someone like Amaz or Masan, or I'm not saying Amaz did. I just throwing out big names. Crip, whoever it might be, whatever game it might be, Counter-Strike or tournament. They already have the viewer account that puts them at the top anyway, where they can afford to do this to begin with. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Make it so difficult that only the people who can afford to do it because they have the viewer account can actually do it. So it doesn't matter.
Well, you can do it. You don't have to spend money to do it.
Right now you don't know. Yeah. But I mean, get it to a point where,
in the future, you're saying,
like you were saying, like count IP, similar IP addresses, and then go from there to where, okay, I've got to go around this. I have to go use a service that I'm in the US, it's in Canada, and it's using multiple servers to, whatever it might be, to kind of proxy in, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an idea. I have no idea. There's probably other ways to do it, but making it as either it's free, but it's difficult to do it. You've got to set all this up, or you pay a service. I don't know what it would be. Make it as difficult. Oh, it's kind of like just botting, like in Warcraft. Do people still bot? Of course, but Blizzard does I think a fairly good job of making it difficult. I don't know. I know that it hasn't been as big of a deal as it was, like, God, even before Burning Crusade came out, when botting was a really big deal back then. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
My personal opinion on this whole matter is that it's not something that a major streamer is going to go out and say, but a lot of major streamers got their start from view botting. And it's true. And it's discussed I've discussed it within the Twitch subreddit. Number of people have discussed it, and it's kind of the way that they've approached it in the Twitch subreddit is just saying, okay, we're not going to discuss it, because the second that this Masan thing came out, I have a small community of friends that I've met through Twitch and are streamers, and we kind of we all throw each other hosts at the end of the night and kind of help each other out because we're all small, and we want to create a community in a sense, and it's nice to have other streamers that are part of that community, and we all work together. And it's really nice to have some of those people as like legs that you can stand on and help out with, And the problem is I've gone into a couple of them now. I'd say there's about 10 people that I have become friends with throughout streaming. And of those 10 people, I would say 5 of them I can confidently say are view botting or getting view botted now. And they've gone from a level of obscurity where they've got maybe 6 or 7 people in their stream to, like 18 to 20 people in their stream, and they're getting people who are adding their stream. So if they turn off their view bot, like say their view bots have 100 people saying it's in their stream, if all of a sudden there's 100 people in your stream, you're going to get more influx of actual people.
Sure.
And so even if they're gaining an extra 15 to 20 followers per night, that number pushes them so much further ahead of the competition that even if they turn off their ViewBot thing 6 months down the road, they're going to be that much further ahead of the person who was playing fairly. And so for that reasoning, I'm still not going to ViewBot. I'm against it personally. But it puts in my head, it says, okay, maybe I should be doing this. And with the Masan thing becoming so public and such a big discussion, I've been seeing since that discussion happened, at least 2 or 3 streams that I've gone into immediately afterwards, they're immediately view botting because they're like, oh, what's this technology? Let's learn. Let's do it. Like, how do I compete? Because at the end of the day, the people who are on Twitch streaming, some of them are there to be competitive and try and partnered with stream and try and turn it into a job that they could do. And those people are going to do whatever they can to try and put themselves in that position. Because if they're not in that position, there's nothing that they're losing. So if they get caught for view botting, what's the loss for them? There's almost no loss.
Yeah.
But if they don't get caught, the gain is huge. They could become a partnered streamer and just be able to do that for a living potentially. So I don't know. It kind of makes me mad too because there's one streamer,
sure.
I don't want to mention names, that I don't really think is a good streamer personally, and I enjoy his company. I'm not gonna say. But that particular person has been view botting, and they've got 100 to 200 people in their channel, even though there's only like 20, 30 actual peoples in the channel. But my honest opinion on them, I really don't. I don't think they're a good streamer. They don't have a quality stream. the content they're putting out is relatively lackluster. I wouldn't say that it's anything better than somebody who should be at 10 viewers. They shouldn't have 20, 30 viewers because they're not really putting out quality content. So I don't know. It's a shame that that's the system that we live in, though.
Right.
But yeah, I'm off the pedestal now. Let's switch on.
Yeah. Wish. Hunt.
I think it's
name the stream, Brad. Who is it? Call him out.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
I think it's important.
Are you hating on yourself?
Yeah, stupid Bradford Lee's always. I shouldn't even say that because then who knows what somebody will get that back to them and be like, look, he said he's view botting.
Right.
I'm not. You'd know if I was view botting because I would have more than about 7 people that hang out on my stream on a regular basis.
I think it's important to talk about just, I don't know. I want, I can't use the word MLG anymore since Blizzard bought them, I guess. It's probably trademarked, right?
It might be.
Yeah.
BLG.
I'm going to get a cease and desist from
BLG.
From Ben Brode.
Big game.
Yeah.
That'd be my initials.
I want it to be taken more serious in a way that, I mean, I like watching streams. I like watching CS:GO. I'm horrible at the game. I don't even I like playing it, but I'm horrible at it. But I love watching tournament plays. I would love, we're getting into an age, I think, where internet TV is going to be a thing, way past when television just goes away. But it would be nice to turn on ESPN, MLG, or whatever it might be, and watch a gaming tournament or something like that.
That's the plan. I'm pretty sure. With
I've heard that too. Yeah, and I hope that's a thing. I hope Channel 46 becomes MLG TV. I don't know. Yeah, and I just feel like it's stuff like this that kind of, I don't know, displays a perception. I don't know. It's unfortunate. And because like you were saying, Brad, I don't want garbage content being picked up because a couple suits see, oh, well, this guy's got more numbers than this guy, so let's put him on air. Whatever it might be. Just that's not the case right now, but that could be the case. We don't need, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be bad TV. It's going to be the Learning Channel, or TLC, I'm sorry. Just horrible, horrible television when it could have been great. Could have been wonderful television.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
I can't lie that I've definitely gone through and looked at all the botting stuff and said, is this what I want to do? But the truth of the matter is I don't care to grow my stream immensely right off the bat. I'd rather it grow organically and have a good community develop from it than just all of a sudden have view bots in my stream that are spamming Kappa or, putting in specific text lines that make it look like the chat is overflowing with people. It's just, ugh. I mean, you see that in a lot of streams because it's not real people making those comments. It's view bots that are scripted to put in specific lines of text.
Right.
So I don't know. Anyway, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm content with where it's at right now, but not comfortable.
Tricky business.
/and rant.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. We only had one in this episode. No, we had 2. I went on a rant about that Steam game. All right, we had 2. All right.
Speaking of bots.
Yes.
This just in as well. It seems like Blizzard is making some community posts right now. It says in their official title, in our continued effort to promote fair play environment within Hearthstone, we have permanently banned Hearthstone accounts found to be using third-party programs that automate gameplay, which is a violation of our terms of service. And they go on to say that they're going to continue to do this, and they're doing a crackdown on it. So Seekerden may not be all over the ladder anymore.
Has that been a thing? Because
this post was made an hour ago.
Have bots evolved? Because I remember
it was a shaman bot.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I even tried it just to see how it worked, and it worked. It worked.
Banned.
Yeah, right. Yeah, rip. I was just interested because I'm just interested in it, just seeing how well it worked, and it worked well. People obviously went really far with it way back then, but you could tell it was a bot. Like it smelled like a bot, looked like a bot, played like a bot.
Mhm.
Smelled like a bot.
I have a feeling they've gotten better. Apparently, because I have not seen what I had seen like a year or more ago.
I've seen them a couple times
Okay.
the last month where I've been like, "That's a bot," and then afterwards I'd be like, let's watch from here on out, and I can notice the movements are very, very specific, and they always do the same thing each turn, or
Gotcha.
they do specific plays that clearly don't make sense, but they make complete sense because and they're timed in a specific way. And then they're always passing in the same time, because I always have a timer set for how long my opponent's been using their turn.
Okay.
And like their turn is 33 seconds each time or something, And I've seen that a couple times, but I would say the numbers aren't great. Now, I didn't play during the time frame when you guys said there were shaman bots everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was really bad then.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah, so that's brand new news as well.
Well, that's good. I mean, good on Blizzard.
Yeah, totally.
Get on,
It's probably good.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I kind of want an overflow of secret in, because I've been playing decks at Rexy.
Right. Well, gentlemen.
Wrap this bitch up, Mikey.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, folks, that'll be episode 50, the Big 50. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter and YouTube. Just search Death Rattle Crew. Go to our website, www.deathrattlecrew.com. Right in at mail@Death Rattle Crew, and join us 7-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch TV/Death Rattle Crew. So many Death Rattle Crews. So
Plug your shit.
yes, Bradford Lee, where can people find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Bradford Lee. It's the best way. You can also find me on Twitter at Bradford Lee HS.
And when are you starting the YouTube series?
It was supposed to be this last week. It's supposed to be last week.
It'll be this week. It'll be this
It's a
But
lot of work.
it'll
I don't
be soon.
blame you.
It's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
I had okay. So here's the backstory real quick. After I said that to you guys, I had to retroactively go 2 days back into my build of my new PC because something screwed up. And so I had to backtrack, and I backtracked to before I had downloaded and like put everything back into place. It was like a fresh install again. So I had just gone through the whole install process, and I had to go through the install process again, which really slowed me down. It set me back like 2 days, literally. So I'm getting back on track with that, and very soon we'll have YouTube content on a regular basis going up.
Sweet. And where will that be, just for future reference?
Do
Do you have a YouTube account yet?
I do have a YouTube account. It's
Okay.
just hard to do it because I don't have a heavy follower count on YouTube.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's just a number generation right now,
Cool.
but that'll be up here soon. You can always
Okay.
check out twitch.tv/Bradford Lee, and I have it down in my panels
Perfect.
section of my Twitch channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be the Death Rattle Crew for this week. We will see you next week. I am Tac2, joined by Mushu and Bradford Lee, and we'll see you then.
America.
America indeed.
America.